right, everyone. Hello, happy Sunday. Welcome back to the Sitrep Podcast and another episode of the Sitrep Podcast, obviously. We're looking at Valor Victory yet again because it's a very web-friendly game that is easy to pick up and fun to play for members of our community. And we're continuing our explorations of the 1954 Battle of Dien with my friend Piotr. Hello, Piotr. Say hello to everyone, please.
Hello, everyone.
Awesome.
Nice to see you again.
How are you holding up with the whole quarantine and everything going on?
It's not bad. We're working from home and trying to stay positive, staying at home, doing some exercise. And actually, it's good for me because I started to exercise, lost 2 kilograms lately.
I agree with all of that except the losing weight part. That's the only part I'm not doing. In fact, health-wise, the only thing that's bad for me is I'm smoking too much. Because normally, obviously, I go to an office to work, like most people, and you can't smoke in the office. But when you work from home, you can smoke all you want, and that's turning out not to be a good thing.
Oh, so now we know the radio voice from where it is.
There you go.
Smokes.
There you go. Actually, it's from something a little worse than that, but yeah, we'll go with smoking. Okay, everyone. So, like I said, we've been doing, for those of us who follow us here on Sitrep Podcast, we've been doing a lot of Valor and Victory lately, in particular on Dien Bien Phu was the final battle of what is usually called the First Indochina War. This is separate from the Second Indochina War, which is more commonly called the Vietnam War. So it's in Vietnam. It's against the Viet Minh. A lot of the generals are the same. Especially on the Vietnamese side, a lot of the leaders are the same. It really is a separate war, and that comes out in the gaming. The units are different, the morales are different, the weapons are different, and the objectives are different, and the types of battles are different. Again, for people who may have seen our Beatrice, our Strongpoint Beatrice episodes, those maps look like World War I tables in more ways than one, and that's not an accident, as Piotr can talk about. But yeah,
Don't get me started.
But, hey, you know what? People are tired of hearing me ramble. Maybe they should, hear somebody else ramble for a little bit.
No, but my English is so bad, But
Okay.
actually, yeah, Oriskani is right when it comes to the fights that were made, because when it comes to Vietnam, as we know, the Americans and Aztec forces set up some fire bases all around the perimeter, and when it comes to the First Indochina War, the French were mostly fortified in the delta of the Red River, so it's modern Hanoi, and in the south when it comes to the Da Nang and of course the city of Hue and Saigon. But they did something that the Americans sort of copied 20 years later, so they set up literally hundreds of separate strong points all around the country that were taken out one by one by the Viet Minh forces. So they attacked during the night, then they disappeared, and they were weakening the defenses of the French forces, and of course the morale, because what you control during the day, you did not control during the night. The main battles took place in the Red River Delta before 1954. And in 1954...
This is the Red River here that everyone goes straight down through northern part of what would become North Vietnam, and then, like he's saying, down through Hanoi and Haiphong.
In late 1953, the Viet Minh regular divisions were on the move, and since Indochina was actually not Indochina, but France was obliged by a pact to defend Laos, and one of the divisions of the Viet Minh was moving to Laos. The French General Navarre, that was the chief in command when it comes to Indochina, decided that we should set up a base in Dien Bien Phu, in the middle of a valley surrounded by high hills, great, and stop the Viet Minh from entering Laos, and maybe call them in to a major battle that would decide the fate of the war. And many mistakes were made, and here we are defending Eliane 2 today.
Yeah. So there's a lot of like Monday morning quarterbacking as far as like, oh, how could the French be so? And I'm guilty of it too. I realized in my Beatrice videos recently up on YouTube, I'm guilty a little of this. I'm like, why in the hell did the French set up this base in a valley surrounded by hills? Well, it's an air base. You can't build an airfield on the top of a mountain. It's got to be on the flat, valley floor. The French had also done what is almost, not very well known, is the French have pulled off their plan at Dien Bien Phu with great success at other places. It just didn't work. They did not work at Dien Bien Phu because of some critical mistakes that Piotr was referring to, and we'll get into that in just a second. And moving forward into Second Indochina War or Vietnam, sometimes you hear people talking about, the Americans didn't learn the lessons of the French. The French made all these mistakes, and the Americans went into made all the exact same mistakes that they made in the first Indochina War. Particularly, they draw comparisons between Dien Bien Phu and Khe Sanh. And, the Marines at Khe Sanh, 26 Marines and 1st Battalion, 9th Marines. Well, again, here are the differences. Okay, the reason Dien Bien Phu succeeded Dien Bien Phu failed in previous French attempts at Dien Bien Phu, or at this kind of fire-based tactics, were able to succeed is the previous fire bases were not as deep into communist territory. They could support each other. They were close enough to where artillery from one fire base could land and defend against an attack that was hitting another fire base, and so on and so forth. They were close enough to where they could be mutually supportive. And the same thing with the Americans. The Americans did look at Dien Bien Phu. They did look at what the French did wrong, did right and did wrong in First Indochina War, and made sure that they made none of these mistakes. So Dien Bien Phu was defended by Camp Carroll, defended by Long Vey, defended by the Rock Pile, defended by Cam Lo. There was a whole bunch of other bases up there along the DMZ. Nevertheless, Khe Sanh almost went down. Khe Sanh almost became the American Dien Bien Phu because they hit Khe Sanh a hell of a lot harder than they hit Dien Bien Phu. And the Americans defended Dien Bien Phu a hell of a lot harder than the French were able to. So it's pretty much Dien Bien Phu squared on both sides. And the Americans just barely managed to kind of squeak out a win on that one. The Americans dropped so much firepower, it's still, to my knowledge, even after Desert Storm, to my knowledge, I could be wrong about this, Khe Sanh is still the heaviest example, just in raw tonnage and actual numbers. It's the most heavy example of tactical battlefield air power in history. I can't remember all the numbers. I remember it lasted for 77 days. By the end of those 77 days, the American Air Force, Marine Corps, and Navy had dropped enough firepower around Khe Sanh, sometimes as little as 1,200 meters away from the front line of Marines, to triple the explosive power of Hiroshima. So they basically nuked Khe Sanh 3 times. If you want to get technical with the math. Of course, it's over 77 days, so it adds up. So it's a kind of a dramatic way of saying it, but it gets the point across. Is when the Vietnamese, either the Viet Minh or later on the NVA, or PAVN if you prefer, decide to take one of your fire bases, they're gonna take your fire base. And if you decide to contest the issue, man, you've got a man's job ahead of you, and you better bring in some air power. So that's one thing that the French really weren't able to do in 1954, and that's why kind of Dien Bien Phu turns out the way it does.
Oh yeah, and they had one problem. They were almost like 300 kilometers from the nearest airfield that could support the base. So it was a 1-hour flight to the base. That's the first part. And the second part is that they did not have enough airplanes in order to support the base. There were some American planes that were supporting the French units, but of course they were unmarked because America was officially not involved in Vietnam at that time. And mostly the pilots that were civilian pilots were, dropping supplies. But that ended soon enough when there was too much anti-air power around the Dien Bien Phu base in March 1954. Sorry.
It's So what would be first of all, hello, Gaz. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for coming out to our stream. I appreciate it very much. Gaz, was that you that put up that Lancaster bombing mission, or was that Gianna yesterday on Sitrep Podcast? You guys should check out that video. It's really awesome. They have like a VR recreation of one of the one of the Lancaster bombing raids over Hamburg at night, and it's actually pretty awesome. Okay, so what Piotr was talking about a second ago is Operation Vulture. That's the American air participation in Dien Bien Phu, which was minimal at best. This is for a whole bunch of reasons. Again, this is 1954, so we're still in the Eisenhower administration, and Eisenhower did not like the French. This goes all the way back to some falling outs he had with de Gaulle before Normandy. So Eisenhower was, huge friends with the British. Whenever the British had a problem, Eisenhower was there for them, more or less. The French, not so much. The French did not. The Americans did not to get too huge about this, but the Americans did not want the French to reclaim French Indochina after World War II. It was a Vichy French colony. It was pretty much handed by the Germans over to the Japanese in 1941, part of a sweetener that got the Japanese into the Axis. So the Japanese took what was then French Indochina, including Vietnam, without a fight. And then ironically, the American OSS, Office of Strategic Services, that is what is later going to become the CIA, more or less get Ho Chi Minh started and the Viet Minh started. That's more or less an American creation, unfortunately for us. We created, or at the very least supported and nurtured, the rise of Ho Chi Minh and the Viet Minh to fight the Japanese during World War II. And as soon as World War II is over, the French say, "Oh, thanks, we'll take our colonies back." The Americans say, "The hell you will," because number one, Eisenhower's not a huge fan of the French. Number two, the Americans are not, or I should say the French government. He had tremendous respect for the French people. His biggest battle was to liberate them from, the Third Reich. But the French government and military establishment, not so much. At least some elements of it. So then what we have is, the Americans sort of acquiesce and say, okay, you can have these colonies back because we need the French in NATO. The French would later leave NATO, but that's another whole candle of ball of wax that I want to get into. There's a lot of problems here. And then as soon as the French get into this real big problem here in Dien Bien Phu, they are screaming at the State Department, at Department of Defense, at the Americans, to please bring us in all this air support. The French wanted full, American naval carriers in the South China Sea and the Tonkin Gulf, absolutely leveling this place, the way they would ironically do a little bit later at Khe Sanh, including the deployment of up to 4 nuclear weapons to kind of break the French out of here. And Eisenhower heard that and said, "Oh, you've got to be kidding me." And needless to say, that didn't happen. So Eisenhower, very wary of getting involved in a whole bunch of wars overseas. The Americans had just climbed out of Korea. Remember, Korea ends in 1954, and that's mostly against the Chinese. By this point, the Chinese are very, very close in their support to Ho Chi Minh. And the last thing the Americans want is to, within 1 year, get involved in another land war in Asia, potentially against Chinese regulars coming out of the north. So when the French started screaming about nuclear weapons to deploy here at Dien Bien Phu, the Americans were not particularly impressed. And needless to say, didn't really support them. And what little bit they did support was mostly transport planes, spotter planes, intelligence planes, and unmarked CIA Black Ops kind of stuff. There was no way they were sending in the U.S. Air Force, Army, Navy, Marines in here. It just wasn't going to happen. But now that we're totally off topic, the siege of Dien Bien Phu had by this point been going on for a number of months. We talked earlier in our previous videos about battles taking place here in at Beatrice. We saw Beatrice fall, or actually we didn't see it fall. We saw Piotr kick the hell out of me in a couple of Valor Victory games. But historically, that place eventually did fall, March 13th, 1954. Almost simultaneously, these other two northern, Gabrielle and Anne-Marie, these other two northern strong points also fell. And then there was a bit of a lull. And then starting in the very end of March, if I'm not mistaken, Piotr, our friend General Giap comes back with his 4 Viet Minh divisions, People's Army of Vietnam. And they completely start what they call the Battle of 5 Hills. That's this battle here. 2 hills at Dominique, 3 hills at Eliane. So they call that the Battle of Five Hills. Simultaneously, they were also attacking Huguet over here on the actual airstrip, and it's on. It's the final series of assaults that really start to cave in the French air base here at Dien Bien Phu. So we're looking at this area here lined in green. That's the actual size per scale. We have a scale on the bottom of our map here. That's the actual scale of our table, that little green rectangle there at the bottom. That is 98th Division, 98th Regiment, 316th Division of People's Army of Vietnam versus some French units that we will go over in just a second. Here is a here's a Vietnamese copy of the same map, or version of the same map, where we have much more. You can always tell where the map comes from. Here is a Western map, this one over here on the left, because the Vietnamese units are pretty much not even on the map, and if they are on the map, they're not very detailed. What is detailed is the exact location of all the French strong points. Over here to this map, over here to the right, we have the opposite. We have 308th, 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 316th. We have all the actual divisions and where they were and when they were attacking. They're all coded by dates. What's not so well laid out are the French positions. So that's why we have both maps here. Is we have the French view and we have the Vietnamese view. Same general area. Attacking Hill 509 is what the Vietnamese called it. Of course, the French had a couple of strong points of Eliane. I think there were 4 of them in all. Eliane 1 through 4.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they were under attack, mostly out of the southeast. And here's some information that Piotr provided. I should note that Piotr did most of the research for this game, so that was definitely a big help. We have the battlefield as it appears today. Again, we have 316th Division hooking around to the southeast and attacking Eliane 2 out of the southeast perimeter. And we have a more detailed view of how the actual defenses were laid out, the path of the Viet Minh attack, and the French counterattack that would take place later on in the evening. Or wee hours of the morning the next day is what I should say. So we have constructed our map. Oops. Let me zoom out a little bit so you can see the map. Might be helpful. So Gaz says he wants to watch Bat 21 again. Ironically, with all this talk of the French Foreign Legion, I've been watching Gene Hackman, same actor, in what the hell was it? March or Die. A movie of somewhat less historical relevance. Nevertheless, it's Gene Hackman, and damn it, I'm going to watch Gene Hackman. Okay, so here we have the southeast corner of the hill, Hill 509. The French called it, or they had built on top of it, Strong Point Eliane 2. And we have the trenches, we have the barbed wire. This is more or less historical of what's going on here. We have the governor's house here, which was a big part of the battle, and where the French bunkers were, and so on. Then we have, like we said, the governor's house. That was an actual semi-fortified building that they were able to use in their defense. Now, what about this crater, Piotr? Can you tell us anything about this crater?
Oh yeah, when it comes to the crater, it's from the second half of the battle, because the Battle of the Five Hills started on the 30th of March 1954. With the assaults on all the 5 hills, as you said, simultaneously. So the Viet Minh forces managed to capture half of the hill, the top half of the hill. The Moroccans were sitting in the governor's house, which was by that time only actually the cellars and that were fortified, and the rest of the concrete from the building was used in order to build bunkers that we see on this beautiful map over here. And they were trying to attack to wipe out the French forces. But the French command said that basically we have to hold to Eliane 2. If Eliane 2 falls, the Dien Bien Phu base falls with it, because it was like 800 meters from Eliane 2 to the command post of the Castriers, so the commander of the whole base.
Highway 41 is right behind Eliane 2, I think. So if Eliane 2 falls, there goes Highway 41. And that's an artery that runs right through the middle of all of these positions.
True, and you have the straight way up into the middle of the French base. And so they could not actually do it because the French were sending in reinforcements one by one, all for 5 days, like from the 31st of March till the 4th of April. So if we cannot do it by land, we should go underground. So the Viet Minh started to build a mine, and they shot down one of the B-26 bombers that were bombing the base. And they got some bombs, and they decided that they will blow up the French defenses from beneath. And they actually managed to do that on the 6th of May. But this whole mine, thing was not that great because from what I read, it did not do actual damage to the defenders as such. It was probably it's iconic for the battle, but the crater is still there. It's like 30 meters wide. They put some concrete in order for it not to erode, and you can go inside, see the whole thing, because the war cemetery is on top, what is called now the Hill A1. And it's the main memorial of the battle set up by the Vietnam government.
So here's the actual map of the location, again, with Piotr's research. Thanks again for that. Yeah, we'll see where they might have either dug too deep or not deep enough, or I'm not sure what direction they were digging from. But here's the front line of trenches. Bunker 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the mine goes off behind the bunkers. So when the mine went off, it didn't actually destroy any of the actual bunkers. Here's French Bunker 1, French Bunker 2, French Bunker 3. Actually, that'll be French Bunkers 1 and 2, French Bunkers 2 and 3, and 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6. Point is, the crater missed them all. So, again, if we call this the March 30th assault, the crater technically wouldn't be there. If we call this the May 6th assault, some of these French units wouldn't be there. We're just kind of running like an amalgamation. This is a general Eliane 2 themed game. Some of our chronology might be a smidge off. Again, this game was kind of slapped together last night, in the wee hours of the morning. But, it's fine, definitely for fun, and it's close. These are the things that were there at Eliane. Everything on the map was there. Whether or not it was there at this particular moment depends on what moment we pick, and no matter what moment you pick, you have to leave some things out, and we don't want to leave anything out. So we're taking a little bit of artistic license, including, oh my god, some tanks. There were some tanks at Dien Bien Phu. Old American World War II M-24 Chaffees. So again,
they were parachuted over there in part.
Well, yeah, they're American light tanks. So whether or not they're air mobile or not is a question, but apparently the French may not work. But that's why they have a relatively poor armor rating. These are pretty much what replaced the American M5 and M3 Stuarts. Great little light tank, but definitely a light tank. What else do we have here? Super fast. Going over what's going on here with the construction, please. Construction. Okay, going over what we have here. Again, for people who have been watching our Dien Bien Phu streams over on YouTube, Sitrep on YouTube, you're familiar with a lot of this, so I won't spend a lot of time on it. We have French Foreign Legion paratroopers. Hooray. Luciani was the actual commander of this company. He was lieutenant. First company, remnants thereof. This is not a full company. Remnants of first company, first battalion of the BEP. Battalion Étranger, I can't even try to pronounce French. French Foreign Legion Paratrooper Battalion. BEP is the French abbreviation for it. We also have 4th Company, 1st Battalion, again, components thereof. 4th Company, 1st Battalion, 4th Regiment of Moroccan Rifles. So these are more regular line infantry. They do have French officers historically, but the game is set up to include these units, and they were there historically. They put up one hell of a fight. They put up historically. We'll see if they do as well this time. But historically, they were actually the ones who kind of clung to that governor's house and was able to hold on to this position for a little bit longer, which is more than the French could do. And of course, we have tons of Viet Minh. These are new Viet Minh counters, not NVA, not Viet Cong, Viet Minh. Different weapons, different troop quality levels, different officers, different support weapons. We have these 57mm recoilless rifles. We have different Soviet surplus World War II light machine guns, French captured light machine guns. So again, this is not what you're going to see in a Vietnam War like Platoon, Hamburger Hill, Full Metal Jacket kind of game. How is night going to affect the game, guys? I'm glad you asked, Mr. Gaz. We do have night rules, full-on night rules, with here in this game. So in our previous game, we were talking about like dusk rules. This is actual night rules, and these are the house rules that we kind of put together for our Falklands game. We're going to go ahead and try them out here. So super fast, because again, this introduction's already gone way too long. Super fast, we're talking about you cannot see anything or attack anything if it's more than 3 hexes away. Okay, if it's 3 hexes away or less, you can shoot at it at -1. If you are point blank, you can shoot at it normally. No matter what the range is, if the enemy has just shot at you in their last fire phase, their last eligible fire phase, you can shoot at them at -1. In other words, you're shooting at muzzle flashes. And last but not least, the French have 4 flares that they can deliver. They last for 2 turns, hence the 2 underneath them. They can deliver via on-board mortars or off-board support missions. Either way, they drop the flare, it goes up, and it lasts for 2 turns. It illuminates fully, it turns into daylight, the hex that it's in, and all adjacent hexes. So 7 hexes. To put it a little bit more simply, or to summarize, we all know how smoke rules work in most games. Most games take place in the day, you have a clear line of sight, you shoot, oh, there's a smoke screen. The smoke screen obscures that hex, or the hexes around it, or the hexes behind it. Here, reverse all that shit. You can't see anything, you're in darkness, and what these flares are almost like reverse smoke screens. They actually illuminate a hex, so you can only see what's in the actual flare hex, or the hexes around it. The whole board is a smoke screen, is sort of how it works. Until the enemy, again, is within 3 hexes, shoots at you, and in those 2 cases you're shooting at a penalty, or is adjacent. And when it's adjacent, no darkness rules. He's right there, you fire at him. These are only 25-meter hexes, so once he's adjacent to you, and by the way, sadly for me, that includes point-blank opportunity fire. We'll get into that. We're going to have all kinds of problems here for our Viet Minh. Alright, so we have Piotr's initial setup. He's already set up the board, so we're able to skip that. And we're able to get right into Viet Minh turn 1. Okay, so he's got his understrength company of Foreign Legion paratroopers up there at the front, where they were historically. And he's got his Moroccans sort of holding the base of this salient back here by the governor's house. These tanks are going to arrive on turn 2, and they're going to arrive down this road. Okay, once they arrive, he can do whatever he wants with them, but for now, they're going to arrive right there and through that hex through B1, Bravo 1, on turn at the beginning of turn 2. So let's get things started. We are going to begin with the preparatory Viet Minh barrage. So this, yeah, here we go. This looks scary. It's less scary than it looks. Trust me. People who play a lot of Valor Victory are probably looking at my 8 heavy barrages here and saying, "Dear God, Oriskany, we know you designed this scenario. Why do you hate your friends? Why are you trying to kill everybody literally before the game even starts?" These are the blind artillery or preparatory artillery missions that we sort of made up for our World War I game. So again, we have a crater dug by a mine. Let me know if that reminds you of anything in World War I. We have these trenches that look a hell of a lot like World War I trenches. We have these barbed wire entanglements, 3 belts deep. That's historically accurate, by the way. Dug by, or set up, looks a hell of a lot like World War I. If all this looks a lot like World War I, that's not you're not going crazy. I think Piotr told me that the only manual that the French garrison had to set up their defenses was a 1916 published manual, How to Dig Trenches in Flanders and at Verdun. So if this looks like Verdun, you're not crazy. It looks a little bit like Petersburg, 1864. There was a big crater battle in the American Civil War. So we're looking at 1954 battle, but these tactics go back to 1864. Some of these tactics are 90 years old, and here the French are still using them. When it comes to these kind of battles, sometimes the old tricks are the best tricks, sometimes not so much. And that's probably a matter of perspective. But the point of that is, roundabout, let me move these up to the front, is, we're using a lot of World War I rules, 1918 Valor Victory rules, to include these initial barrages. So I'm going to go ahead and drop in a bunch of barrages here. These barrages are not nearly as accurate or as powerful as barrages of this type are in the standard game. Because obviously I have no units on the table yet. How am I calling these barrages? These are pre-sighted barrages that are just dumped in here. Historically, Eliane 2 was under intense. When I say intense, I mean intense. Viet Minh artillery for over 2 hours. If you want the quick answer on how the Viet Minh won the Battle of Dien Bien Phu, I got 3 words for you: artillery, artillery, artillery. Everyone hears about the human wave attacks. Human wave attacks, as we saw in our first try of this game, Piotr, you might remember, without artillery, human wave don't mean shit. How long did my human wave last in our first try at Dien Bien Phu, Beatrice?
2 turns.
Yeah, 2 turns. I didn't even make it to the top of the hill. He killed a battalion of guys with less than a company of guys in 2 turns. So it's artillery, artillery, artillery. Stalin wasn't kidding when he called it the Queen of Battle. He was an evil bastard, but he knew what he was talking about sometimes. Okay, so I'm going to call on these artillery missions. Normally, artillery missions like this hit on a 1 through 4. These are blind, pre-sighted, so they're only hitting on a 1 through a 3. And on a 6, they scatter entirely. So working my way from left to right. Dice rolls! Finally, right? After all that historical blather, we're finally ready to start chucking some dice. Here we go.
Everybody's sleeping, so we have to wake them up.
Yeah. We knocked everybody out with our blathering. Beneath Hill 60, Gaz, Beneath Hill 60, that's the actual mine warfare. When I say mine, I mean like digging a tunnel under the enemy trenches and blow it up. That's what the Viet Minh tried here. And I'm not an expert at Dien Bien Phu, even though I like to talk about it a lot, but it looks like they missed. It's surprisingly easy to miss with a mine, because you have to figure out by dead reckoning how far you've dug or whatever, and whether or not you're actually under the enemy trenches or not. And it looks like, to me, they dug maybe a little too deep, because the crater blew up pretty much behind the enemy, behind the French line of bunkers. If that crater had gone off 1 hex south, that'd have been sweet. Taking out that bunker, that's one less bunker I gotta deal with. Alright, so here we are in hex Echo 4. It hits on a 1, outstanding. Now we go to hex Foxtrot 4. 5, it drifts 2 hexes. Again, it's different from normal Valor and Victory, guys, bear with me. It drifts 2 hexes. Which way? North is 1. 6. It lands on somebody else. Oh, that's pretty sweet. Alright, Golf 6. Webcam going again before Gaz makes fun of me. 1, it lands where it's supposed to. And let me try and get this where you can actually see more of the dice box. There we go. Okay, India 7. 2, it lands where it's supposed to. God damn it. Juliet 4. Okay, Juliet 4, it drifts by 1 hex. It drifts northward 1 hex. So that one missed. It lands there on hex J3, which is empty. Juliet 5. 3, it lands where it's supposed to. I already did India 7, right?
I don't think so.
Okay, cool. I'll do it now.
I'm not sure.
India 7. 5. It drifts 2 hexes. It drifts to number 6. Poor Golf 6.
Yeah, someone's having a bad day.
Poor Golf 6. He got hit by someone else's artillery on top of his own. Of course, if these were real people, it wouldn't be so funny. But they're not even cardboard counters, they're virtual counters. Okay, Kilo 7. Kilo 7 rolls a... Oh, I don't have the webcam going. Kilo 7 rolls a 6. Now, normally in Valor and Victory, it's 1 through a 4, it hits where it's supposed to. A 5, it drifts 1 hex. A 6, it drifts 2 hexes. These are blind missions. So, house rules, 1 to a 3, it lands where it's supposed to. 4 or a 5, a 4, it drifts 1 hex. 5, it drifts 2 hexes. 6, it drifts off the map. It just completely dissipates. Pretty much that's a stolen rule from Panzerleader, because I like to steal from Panzerleader. So long story short, take your first shot. Kilo 7 gets a pass. The artillery doesn't land there. It doesn't land anywhere. What really happens is it lands in all 7 of these hexes, but at such a dispersion that in game effect it has no effect. Last but not least, we have Lima 6. Mr. Webcam. It drifts 2 hexes. Number 3. 1, 2, 3. I'm sorry, 1, 2, 3. Okay, 1, 2 hexes. 1, 2. It lands there, and that is pretty much crappy, except you know what it does do? It blows another hole in that barbed wire. So you'll see where there are some crater hexes that are opening up gaps in the barbed wire. So it's kind of a wasted artillery mission, but not really. I do get some use out of it.
And if I may add, Orescan is being really generous here when it comes to the pre-sighted artillery, because he calls it a blind artillery mission. Actually, the Viet Minh forces were observing the camp for months, and they actually knew where to shoot, and they had their artillery in position only waiting to unleash hell. So after the initial artillery barrage on Eliane 2, historically there were only 6 guys and a corporal alive when it comes to the paratroopers. The rest were dead.
Yeah, but that's not really a fun game though. So
yeah.
Now to your point, yes, that's historically true. However, as it turns out, most of my artillery missed. Historically, all these missions would have landed just on the French and none on the Moroccans back here. And I also missed with a couple of my artillery barrages. So there's a lot of these guys that are alive that historically were not alive because I put my artillery somewhere else. And the ones that I did put down here largely missed. That's fine. Number 2, what was I going to say? Oh, this French company of paratroopers had started off at half strength. There's only 2 platoons on the map. So they already started off at, quote, 50% casualties, which is hideously high. So again, you have to kind of take the history, you have to translate it into your game system, and already there you're going to lose a little bit of your realism. And then sometimes the game just, isn't fair, so you have to kind of... Also, we don't know which Battle of Eliane 2 we're doing. We're kind of doing an amalgamation of the both. The one on March 30th and the one that begins on, I think it's, not March 30th, when the hell was it?
The next day.
Yeah. Okay, so let's resolve these artillery missions. We'll get a copy of this APFP table so that I'm not constantly scrolling and moving the map and cursing and swearing at Excel, because that's something else Gas likes to make fun of me for. So let's nip that in the bud. Just kidding, guys. All's well. Okay, so Delta 3, we'll do that one first. Delta 3 comes in. I have no officers calling it in, so no penalties or no bonuses for me. I roll 2 dice on this orange table down here. Add 2 for the craters. Webcam. That is an 8. That becomes a 10. That is 2 casualties out of this stack.
So let's pin both.
Okay.
They are safe for now. Hopefully.
Yeah, you guys are going to see how little damage this artillery really does. I know it looks crazy when I put 8 heavy barrages on the table, but, you know, trust me. Okay, now over to Echo 4. That's another bad roll. 9 becomes, oops, that was a 4. 9 becomes an 11. That is only 1 casualty point.
So let's pin them.
Oh, man, come on, machine. Help me out here. Or I should say dice. Okay, what do we got? What do we got? What do we got? What else do I have? Holy shit. 1, 2, 3, that missed. That one blew a hole in the barbed wire. So I have 2 misses, 2 effective misses, and the barbed wire hole. Okay, cool. Shit, that's most of my artillery already. Okay, this guy I'm pretty sure is toast. So let's go ahead and roll for that one. This guy is getting hit by 2 barrages. There goes my first dice of the day. Okay, adding 2 for trenches. Jesus Christ, 10 becomes a 12. That's no effect. And 9 becomes an 11. Look at, okay, guys, we're calling this one. This one's already, I've already lost this game. What did I
We
say,
will cut
9?
this out and record it once again.
Oh, no. Okay. Last but not least.
Now Gas is going to make fun of you again.
That's fine. Juliet 5 for the last artillery mission. Oh, shit. Alright, cool. So we got 5 plus 2, because he's in a trench as well. Becomes 7. That is 5 casualty points.
So I don't think I can salvage them, because I can put them into a half squad.
I don't think you can. If you knock them down to a half squad, that takes through 3 casualty points. You pin the
4.
half squad, that's 4, and you have to account for 5.
So they are doomed.
Sweet. Finally, I killed somebody. That's my mighty artillery barrage. Again, putting 8 heavy barrages on the table seems like a good idea, or it seems like it's going to do a lot of damage. But at the same time, that's kind of what we're looking for. How many battles are there in World War II? Monte Cassino, you know, all these battles. El Alamein. World War I, they bombarded sections of the German trench for weeks with millions of shells. And then the first, you know, regiments of British infantry go in at places like Passchendaele, and the Germans are basically unscathed. There you go. There you go. That's the kind of thing that happens. Okay, everybody, that's it for Viet Minh artillery phase. We now go to Viet Minh command phase. Well, that technically was the command phase. There is no command phase because I have no units on the table yet. We go to fire phase. Again, no units on the table. Movement phase. Here come the Viet Minh. The Viet Minh are coming in out of the southeast. In game terms, that is the eastern half of the southern edge of the table.
I can see you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Should I even do that? Yes. Because I have to get through this barbed wire.
We're going to do all the opportunity fire after all your movement, okay?
Actually,
or
you know
do
what?
Want to go one by one?
I'm going to be cagey. I'm going to use my assault movement on that. Only because my artillery was such a wet flop. My artillery sucked.
You gamer.
I am being a gamer right now. That's what happens when my artillery does that badly. 1, 2, 3. You are staying just now. He'll still be able to hit me on his turn, but at least now he's not going to murder me with opportunity fire in the open. I'm sparing myself 1 bad round of fire here.
And that's a lot from what
It
we
is.
have seen so far.
Yeah, and if you 1, 2, 3, 4, he has to stop there because he has no commander, he has no officer. Movement, again, for people who may not know, movement is always 4. Unless you have a commander with you, then it goes up to 6. Yes, guys, that's a very good point. I can't remember how many battleships the Americans had at Iwo Jima for. He's mentioning the ineffectiveness of fire support in the Pacific.
Oh yeah.
We talk a great deal about the size of the gigantic Allied fleet at Normandy. Oh my God, they shelled that poor beach till it almost fell off the continent. We had, I think, 2 battleships there. The Americans had USS Texas, and the British had HMS Warspite. At Iwo Jima, I think the Americans had 8 battleships, and the island was like 1/10 the size. And they shelled it and shelled it and shelled it and shelled it for at least 3 days, and still did, pretty much fuck all. At least with the shelling.
Yeah, you got to give credit to the Viet Minh though, because they, dismantled the guns, carried them for like 100 or 200 kilometers without any trucks or something like that. They carried them up the hill. They dug holes into the mountains, and when the French artillery tried to counter battery fire, they could not hit anything because the guns were already hidden inside the mountain. So that's something to give credit to the Viet Minh for
Oh,
when it comes to
absolutely.
the logistical effort.
High ground and artillery is a combination not easily beat, and no amount of defensive preparations are going to to beat that. And that's for pretty much any. Ooh, what the hell? Wrong button. That's for pretty much any war. Oh my God, I did it again. Stop changing the picture. Just want to move it to the top, please. There we go. How about that shit?
Got a bit tragic for the French artillery commander though, because he was
Yeah.
so sure that he will defeat the Viet Minh artillery when they start to fire, that when most of Beatrice and Gabriel got annihilated, he committed suicide because he could not do any damage to the Viet Minh artillery actually. So
Yeah, he walked. We were talking about this in our Sitrep podcast. Yeah, the French artillery commander at Dien Bien Phu, he eventually just walked into his bunker quietly and pulled a pin on a couple grenades and took the quick way out. And it was such an event. I mean, it's always bad when somebody gets killed in your unit. It's really bad when one of your commanders gets killed in your unit. How about when your commanders start taking themselves out? That doesn't do much for the confidence of the men.
yeah.
So they literally just filled in the bunker and buried
Yeah.
him because they didn't even tell the rest of the brigade what had happened. At least not immediately.
Kept it secret for a week or two. I don't
Yeah,
remember the
it was something
correct
like
date.
that. Ooh, I forgot to bring in my support weapons. It was something like that.
That's okay.
Yeah, right. You don't need to bring those support weapons.
They are heavy and you have to, carry them up the hill. So
Needless to say, guys, I don't think we're going to finish this game today, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This stack can only move 4 because, again, it has no commander. So Gaz is doing really well with his. He's continuing to paint more and more miniatures for 13 days to 13 hours. I need to get back on that stick, man. I really do.
yeah, saw them on
Because
Facebook. They're
I
looking
have
great.
I have been I started off way ahead, and kind of like the turtle and the hare fable. Started off super far ahead, then I kind of slacked off, and now the rest of the team is starting to catch up with me. I'm gonna have to not let them pass me, especially since I'm pretty sure I have to start my map over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Start my map over because I wasn't happy with the way the map was coming out.
Oh, Gus is only painting these miniatures because he thinks you will let them live through the,
That's not going to be up to me. I'm just building the game. It's ironic you should say that. You say Gaz is painting the miniatures because I'll let them live. To my knowledge, Gaz is playing the Libyan militia. So whether or not any of those guys make it through the transit game is really up to Gaz. So, Gaz, if you want to take it easy on yourself, you could always just, resolve to, slaughter all the guys in the transit game. Of course, Gianna's playing the Americans and friendly Libyan militia in that game, so we will see how that goes. All right, guys. Give me 2 seconds here to fix OBS. Okay, hopefully that'll stop popping up now. Okay, everybody. That's it for Viet Minh phase. There's no opportunity fire from the French. I'm outside of 3 hexes, and he has no shells dropped up yet for illumination. I haven't fired anything, so I have no muzzle flash that he can shoot it at a penalty. We're then going to go straight to Viet Minh advance and assault phase. And here's where I'm going to get clobbered. But that will be in his direct fire phase, not the whatchamacallit phase.
Opportunity fire phase.
Yeah. So I pretty much just halved his firepower, which I really should have done last time. I'm not kidding, guys. Check out those videos. You want to see, what's the line from Patton when Patton's there at the El Guitar, which, by the way, Patton was not there at El Guitar, but that's just the movie. He has the binoculars, and he looks out over that battlefield, and he just kind of shakes his head. He says, that's a damn waste of some fine infantry. That's exactly what happened to me in our first playthrough of Beatrice 1, which was a little like this, but not quite. Have I moved everybody? Yeah, I mean, check out those videos. Check out the Beatrice 1 video. The first time we played through that, and it's the fastest you'll ever see an infantry battalion just die, like wither away, like stacks of counters at a time, just shoveling counters off the map. I gotta be a little. I'm totally being gamey or cagey or whatever, but I gotta be at least a little bit, or I will be massacred. I gotta make use of the darkness. Okay, and I think that's gonna be it for. I have 1, 2, 3. Okay, that stack is maximum stacked. Yeah, this guy's just gonna have to stay still for now. Okay, that's going to complete Viet Minh turn 1. We now go to French turn 1, beginning with the command phase.
Alright. So, let's rally everything that we can.
Oh, beginning of phase, everything automatically rallies. Because my artillery totally sucks. Cool. Any divisions or combinations of squads into half squads or vice versa?
Yep.
Okay.
We will divide the squad in India 7 in the bunker.
Oh, see, this is what happens when people actually learn the game. It's very sad for me.
Come on.
Oh no! If I'm going to be gaming with my careful use of darkness, then yeah, this is the first thing you learn when you're on defense in Valor and Victory, especially in fortified ground. Divide your squads. And that's basically, instead of having 8 guys looking in one direction, you have 2 groups of 4 looking in 2 different directions. This makes you very difficult to outflank. And it sounds like, oh, it's 2 half squads, it's 1 full squad. What's the big difference? Trust me, it's a big difference. Same amount of combat firepower, but because it's pointing in 2 directions, it helps. Especially when it comes to throwing grenades against assaults, when it comes to assessing a point cost. My casualty points for assaulting a hex like this, it's pretty bad. So he's making some pretty cagey moves here himself. Good job, Mr. Piotr. Okay, anybody else?
We will also divide the guys in Juliet 4. So the guys in the back next to the medic.
Yep. And this might just be my opinion, but it's my opinion. Again, it might not be fact, and others might not agree. A good war game should not punish, or what's the word I'm looking for here? Being gamey or being a gamer should not be a bad thing if the game is good. If the game is good, being gamey and using the rules of the game to your distinct advantage should be historical or tactically accurate things that happened. There are bad games where that doesn't happen, where if you do something gamey, it's like, oh, you're just being gamey. But like here, the Viet Minh are carefully using darkness to their advantage, kind of like they did in 1954. The French are dividing their squads so they can cover multiple angles out of their bunkers, kind of like they did in 1954. So being quote-unquote gamey or being a rules lawyer in a good historical war game, that's the key. It's got to be a well-designed game. In a well-designed game, that shouldn't be a bad thing. I guess I should say that's a hallmark of a well-designed historical game, is when being gamey is not a bad thing. Speaking of which, any more divisions or combinations?
Not really, thank you.
All right, we will then go to support missions, if any.
Yes, please.
Okay.
So we'll drop one light barrage on Juliet 9.
Okay, Juliet 9. Where is Juliet? H-I-J. I got it.
The -1 officer.
I literally just put these up on top so that we could see them once we did that. All right, so players will notice that he's got onboard mortars and offboard mortars. The onboard mortars are ones attached to his actual companies and battalions. Those are usually surplus American 60 millimeters. These light barrages that he's calling in from off the table are the 81s and 120s he's calling in from regiment back at the actual Huguet positions in the airbase. Obviously off table.
Mm-hmm. And the second one we'll put in. Oh, it's where to put them? I'm thinking between. Okay, so we'll put the second one in October 8.
Got it. Cool.
And I think that will be all for this turn.
Okay. Are those both HE missions or are any of them flares?
No flares.
Okay, didn't think so. All right, cool. So he's called in 2 of his 4 available missions. We'll now roll to see if they actually hit their target. Juliet 9. Now he's going to roll the normal out of the rule book chances to hit. So 1 through 4, it hits where it's supposed to for Juliet 9. Piotr, can you hear me? Uh-oh, did we lose Piotr? Hold on a second, guys. We may have lost Piotr.
Hello, Jim. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I don't know. I got disconnected for a second.
Oh, cool. All right, cool. So we're back. We were only out for like 10 seconds. Okay, so, sweet. So Juliet 9, again, we're going to see if your light barrage lands where it's supposed to. A 1 to a 4 on a D6.
All right. It's a 3.
Cool, it lands where it's supposed to. Now for the one in Oscar 8.
It's a 4.
They both land where they're supposed to. You're on the light barrage table, so you're rolling 2d6 on the yellow table. Now, you are calling these in from -1 officers, so we're going to go ahead and subtract 1 from both of those rolls.
All right.
I have
For
no
the first
cover.
one.
Yep.
It's a 7.
7 becomes a 6. That is 5 casualty points. I'm going to knock out both of those full squads. I'm going to replace them with half squads. squads. If I can find one. Make sure it's not a sapper team. Because that would not be cricket, as the expression goes. Come on, where's a non-sapper team? Okay, never mind. I'll just get one of these guys. Alright. So I knocked both of those. The casualty point, again for people in the chat, the casualty points are the last number on the counter. They went from 4 to 2 times 2 because I did it twice. That's a total of 4 casualty points. I have to assess 5. So I'll take one of those remaining half squads and pin him, and that will account for my 5th and last casualty point. Alright, that's it for that light barrage. Next, we have over there in Oscar 8.
Oh my god, it's a 4.
4 minus 1 becomes a 3. Oh no, that one landed pretty heavily. 7 casualty points. Oof. Okay, that one's gonna hurt. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7. Wait, what did you roll? You rolled a 4?
Yep.
That becomes a 3 because you have a -1 officer. That's 8 casualty points. Yeah, that's 2 full squads just totally wiped out. My god. Good shooting, Tex. Because I'm trying to keep my sappers alive. Blow holes in the wire there. Alright, cool. That completes the command phase. We now go to your direct fire phase. Now, some of your guys can see things, although at a penalty.
Maybe let's start with the mortars.
Okay.
Just because we can. So the one in Echo 2.
Yep.
I believe it can reach India 10. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's 10?
Yep. The range on this is 12.
So let's try to call them in.
Okay, now it's going to be getting called in. There's no commander in that hex. However, the way we play it is you can use the benefit of the officer who's calling it in. However, this is an onboard mission, so we're going to assess that darkness penalty. So it's going to be a +1, -1. -1 for the officer, that's a penalty. +1 for darkness, that's a penalty. What did I just say? -1 for the officer, that's a bonus. Sorry. +1 for darkness, that's a penalty. So it comes out as a wash. And which hex are you going to call that in on?
On India 10.
India 10. Now, it's an onboard. That's the bad news. The good news, onboard missions don't have to roll for drift. So, I'm sorry, you said India 10?
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, cool. India 10, you roll a 6 with no penalties. Go ahead, on the white column, or the white row.
It's a 5.
5 is 3 casualty points on India 10. Where was one of those half squads? Here we go. So I'll knock that full squad down to a half squad and pin the half squad. That accounts for my 3 required casualty points. Sweet. Okay, we go now to your other mortar, I'm assuming.
The second one in Golf 3.
Yep.
And we will try to hit the October 7.
Okay, got it. Same roll.
Oh, it's an 8.
8 becomes nothing, and that is, ooh, wait, I got away with one for a change. Yay. All right. Some of your guys, sacre bleu. Some of your guys can hit direct fire targets.
Oh yes. We should try to do that from left to right, maybe. So the Golf 6 will try to hit your guys in the Golf 9.
Golf 6 will attempt to fire guys in Golf 9. Okay.
+2, yes.
I'm right behind an elevation line.
Oh yeah.
So we can't see each other.
So India 7. We'll try to shoot Juliet 9.
That's very possible, yep. He's now blocked by Juliet 7, and I'm already on the top lip of that second level of elevation. Yeah, there's nothing saving me there. So it is 2 half squads and an officer who is in range, total of 7 points. -1 +1, 7 points.
It's a 7.
Okay, 1 casualty point. Now, how bloody do I want to be? I'm going to go ahead and pin. Is anyone else shooting at Juliet 9?
From what I can see, not.
Kilo 7 can hit him, but that's up to you. Kilo 7 also has other targets.
Yeah, and
okay.
I need to soften you on other directions too.
No worries.
I believe.
I'll go ahead and assess my 1 casualty. You rolled a 7, yeah, so 1, and you have 7 points. So, yeah, we look at the white column and we cross-reference the band of total number of attack factors, again for people in the chat, and the number of that he rolled on his dice. Don't worry about it because science teacher says poor Jim. I'm doing a lot better than I did last time. The first game was an absolute soul-crushing defeat. I lost that game like by the end of turn 2. And when I mean lost, I mean tabled. Game 2, we tried that same scenario a second time. We tied. Well, I think the score was like 149 to 149 or something like that, Piotr.
Yeah.
It was an exact tie. In fact, I still have it right here.
149 or
148.
Like
yeah, 148 to 148. It was an exact tie. And this game, we'll see. So, you know, I am improving. We'll see what happens.
All right. So Kilo 7.
Yep.
We'll shoot you in November 8th.
Okay. Let me zoom in a little bit.
+1.
So we can see these counters a little bit. So November 8 is the target. Kilo 7. You're shooting right down this hex row here. No problem. Barbed wire does not stop bullets. We're looking at a total of 5 points +1 because there's no officer there in Kilo 7.
And it's a 5.
And before anybody asks, yes, he is in the front firing arc of that bunker. So 5 becomes a 6 on 5 points. That is 2 casualty points on November. I don't want to knock out a sapper because I like my sappers.
They come in handy.
Sappers have some pretty awesome and yet also hideous special rules in this game. Again, refer to our Beatrice video for. Basically, they can blow up holes in barbed wire, and if they assault a fortification, in other words, a bunker or a building, or even a trench, because they technically count as fortifications. If I'm assaulting a French fortification, I can use up a sapper as a human satchel charge. He literally jumps in the hole and pulls that ripcord on his dynamite vest, and I get to subtract 2 from the roll, which is a big deal for an assault. Trust me. Okay. Like these bunkers, man, that shit ain't pretty. Assaulting these bunkers. Okay, yeah, so
scary.
Kilo 7. Now we have Lima 6. I'm assuming you're shooting at someone.
Yeah, and Lima 6 will try to hit you in November 8th.
All right, same hex. Cool. Go for it. You have 7. No, I can't add. 6 total points. Same row, so it doesn't really matter. But 6 total points. Net 0 on the dice. So 2d6.
It's a 6 again.
2 more casualty points. I'll go ahead and not knock out that other half squad. I'll just reduce. Again, killing, for people in the chat, killing 2 half squads instead of just removing 1 full squad, there is a slight, it depends on the situation. Sometimes that's a good thing to do, sometimes that's a bad thing to do. But for now, I'm doing it. Okay, everybody, I'm pretty sure that concludes direct fire.
Oh yeah, true.
Alright. Poor Jen. She's trying to kind of, buck me up or whatever. She's like, oh, poor Jim. He's taking so many losses. Apparently she didn't watch that first Beatrice video. Because I'm actually...
Jen. He will win this time.
I'm actually doing pretty well on this one so far.
Yep.
Except for my artillery. My artillery kind of flew off the map, but that's fine. I'm a little disappointed about that. Okay, so that's it for direct fire. Ready for your movement, if any.
Oh, yeah. Delta 4
Okay.
will move into... where to put them? Into Foxtrot 5. The Nicot guy will move into Golf 6, so the -2 commander from Golf 5.
We'll move forward in the trenches to Golf 6, okay?
But without the medic.
Oh, sorry. Medic, you stay back here, man. Trust me, we'll be calling you in just a minute.
When it comes to me, they always die first.
That's Jen will agree with you. I'm waiting for Jen's comment. Ever since Alien came out, not Alien, Aliens in 1986, the first Alien sequel, like the good one, the first person killed in that movie is the friggin' medic, and that's become like a thing now. It's like the medic's always the first one to go down.
Okay. So let's take this force in Foxtrot.
Right.
Send them down to Foxtrot 5.
Foxtrot, moving down into Foxtrot 5. Okay, what's going on? I couldn't hear the first part.
Let's put them into Foxtrot 5.
Yeah, who? I didn't hear the first part.
The guys in Foxtrot 4.
Okay, the whole stack.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
No problem. Stack is legal.
And
for people in the chat, you're allowed to have 4 infantry units in a stack. Officers count and support weapons don't.
Okay, and now the guys in Charlie 4.
Yep.
Will take the position in Foxtrot 4.
He's abandoning an objective hex. He can do that with 1, 2. He technically has to jump out of a hex, out of a trench 3-4. He can do it. So you don't have to pay extra movement points for leaving a hex, guys, in the chat. If you follow the trench. If you actually have to jump out of a trench, you have to pay 1 extra movement point to literally go over the top. Medics need to swap out the red cross for a bullseye. It will just save time. Don't tell the Japanese that. That's exactly what they did through all World War II. Killed the medics first. To the point where Marine medics, I should say they're not Marine medics, Navy corpsmen, just stopped putting that red armband on, that red cross armband. It was literally a bullseye. Kill me first, please. Alrighty. Any more movement?
Sure. Foxtrot 3 will go into Hotel 4.
Fox 3 into Hotel 4. Fox 3, got it, into Hotel 4, got it. He follows the trenches, 1, 2, 3, 4.
And his fellow from Echo 4 will take his position up in Foxtrot 4.
Up Fox 4, got it.
Okay, now the 2 half squads from Juliet 4.
Yep.
One of them will go into Kilo 7.
He runs up the trenches, sweet.
And the second one will take up a position in Kilo 6. And I think that will be all for my movement.
Alright. During that movement, again for people in the chat, one option was for Viet Minh opportunity fire. Believe it or not, most of my units, or I should say at least half of my units, can't see him because I'm tucked too close behind the base of this hill. Same way he couldn't see me a minute ago. Line of sight is almost always a two-way street. Also, bunkers are considered buildings that block line of sight. So as his guys are running into the back of the bunker, I can't shoot at him even though they are technically, well, they're not technically visible because they're blocked by the bunker he's running into. And by the time I can see him, he's already in the bunker and getting the benefits of that bonus. So there's literally no point. In case anyone's wondering why I'm not taking opportunity fire. Cool, because he's being smart about how he's moving. We'll then go to whatchamacallit, Viet Minh defensive fire. So,
sorry, Jim.
I'm sorry.
We missed one thing from the first turn of yours. After the heavy barrage, we forgot to put some casualty markers on board, I believe.
Oh,
because
actually,
you wiped out one squad in Echo. In Juliet 5.
Yep, you are absolutely correct. So, again, for Valor and Victory faithful out there, Barry Doyle, great game for World War II. Go to valor-and-victory.com to this website right here. You can download it for free. You won't find this 1954 scenario. It's for World War II. People who may be watching this on YouTube later on might look at these casualty counters. We also have POW counters, medics, casualty evacuation, civilians in some of our scenarios. None of this is in Valor and Victory. It's all house rules, and it's for post-1945 modern games. We try to get that asymmetrical feel for a modern game. That's where we have casualties. The Viet Minh don't have to track casualties. They do it old school. You kill a unit, you take it off the table, it's done. Free world casualties, you take the unit off the table, you replace it with a casualty counter that you now have to evacuate. And if you don't evacuate him, he bleeds out. And if he does bleed out, or if I capture him, it's double victory points to me. And it's bad news. This is to sort of show how the two armies are fighting literally by different rule books, because the game has different rules for the two sides. Alright, so we're ready to start Viet Minh defensive fire phase. There won't be that much, because most of my guys are either pinned down or undercover. Can't see, can't see, can't see, can see, but almost everybody's pinned. Can't see. These guys can see. I have a total of 15, make that 17, make that 18 points. 18 points up the hill at this guy. He's within 3 hexes, and besides, I saw him with muzzle flashes, so I can go ahead and shoot at him with a total of 15. So, 18 points. So 18, I have to add 4 to my result, though, because he's in a freaking bunker. Make that 5, because I'm shooting at muzzle flashes in darkness. Holy crap. I literally have to roll a 3 or less. You know what? I'm not going to do it. Because the odds are that I will get a sniper as easily as
last time.
As easily as actually any kind of kills. This guy, on the other hand, I'll go ahead and shoot. He has the same number of, almost the same number of points. Not quite. 1, 11, plus 4 is 15. He's on the same row. He is a -1 officer, however. So he'll take the shot, because he's going to be at -4. +1 for darkness, +4 for bunker, -1 for officer, -4 net. I have to roll a 4 or less. Okay, that's still a terrible shot, but at least it's not suicidal. Subtract 4. Or I should say add 4. Low rolls are good in this game. So nice low number, please. A 5 becomes a 9. I think I just missed. Yep, I just missed.
Was close, though.
I'm sorry?
Was close.
Oh yeah, I was right there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Same thing with this stack here. This stack shooting into this bunker. These guys that are with the -0 officers, they're not even going to bother, because I'm just going to wind up summoning a French sniper with a bad roll. So here we go with a same roll. Come on, 4 or less. Do it. 6. So 2 close calls, but no cigar. All right. Now for my somewhat good shot. This guy did fire, so I can see him via muzzle flashes. Down here we have 15 total points worth of recoilless rifles. These are surplus American 57mm recoilless rifles. Came out at the very end of World War II. They saw a lot more service in Korea. There's a -2 officer in there, so he's also going to be shooting at these guys in the bunker.
5 or less.
So this guy is 5 or less. These bunkers are you obviously can't beat a bunker with direct fire. You have to assault it. I'm just hoping to pin somebody down for a little bit, but we'll see. Here comes the webcam would be nice. Here comes the 5 or less. Do it. Nope, 8. So we all fired, and that was no effect. I probably shouldn't have fired this guy because now this stack is spotted. There were muzzle flashes out of that tree line. So now that I think about it, I probably shouldn't have done that. That's it for my defensive fire. We go now to your advance and assault phase.
Okay. So the medic from India 5 will try to take care of the casualties in Juliet 5.
Alright, so he crawls in there in the belly crawl phase. We'll see what he can do in the after action phase. Any other belly crawls?
Yep. Hotel 4 into India 4.
Got it.
And I believe we will put Golf 6 into Hotel 6.
Golf 6 into Hotel 6. Got it. All of them?
Yes. Please.
Okay.
And also we will withdraw the half squad from Kilo 6 into Juliet 5 in order to try to secure the second casualty.
Cool. Alright, cool. So if that's it for belly crawl, or it's advance and assault phase, I kind of nickname it the belly crawl phase. Any infantry unit gets to move 1 hex. So again, the sequence, the turn sequence in Valor Victory is just friggin' beautiful, if you ask me. You run, you take opportunity fire, you get done with your movement phase, and then after that, any infantry unit gets to move 1 more hex, regardless of terrain, immune to opportunity fire. That's literally you're on your elbows and you're belly crawling, 1 extra hex toward the enemy. Or you can assault if you're already adjacent. Okay, so now in this hex we have 2 casualties. There are 2 casualties in there because it was a full squad. So it's a casualty for every officer or half squad in there. 1 full squad equals 2 halves, obviously. So the medic, part of his special powers, he automatically evacuates 1 casualty. Because that's literally what he's there for. He has a 0 attack factor until he gets assaulted. That's the little star after him. So his job is literally just to evacuate casualties. He can do that 1 automatic casualty per turn. Then we have the half squad in here who has first aid training, so he can try. So he has to roll a normal rally. I'm going through all this for people in the chat. Normal rally check, which is 6 or less on 2d6, plus 1 because he's elite. So he needs to roll 7 or less.
No, it's a 10, so he did not make it.
He did not make it out. Okay, so now this guy has to check to bleed out. 1d6, try not to roll a 5 or a 6.
It's a 1.
He is hanging on. You hang in there, man. Relax. The medic, he'll get to you next. He took care of the other guy first because you're not that badly hurt. You're going home, man. You're going home. Alright, so he's holding on. What's really bad, and Piotr's seen this in a couple of the games, Gianna too, and other people who have tried these kind of games, is you've got multiple casualties in a hex, and the medic gets in there, and he can only take care of 1 per turn, and then you roll bleed outs on the other casualties, and they start passing away. And it's like the medic just couldn't get to him fast enough. Okay, so I think that concludes French turn 1, and that's going to conclude complete turn 1. Unless we're missing anything. I don't think there's any more casualty checks. No more rally checks. We will begin Viet Minh turn 2, and then we'll probably wrap up the stream, guys. I know it's Sunday night. Everybody's got other stuff to do. So we will go through Viet Minh turn 2 here pretty quickly. I'm calling in my 3 my 3 remaining during game heavy barrages. Because I got to, man. So annoying.
Boom.
Make sure I'm not missing anything in the chat. Okay, and now we're going to go ahead and see if they succeed. Oh shit! Hold on, webcam time. Sorry. Okay, cool. So the 3 artillery missions have landed where they're supposed to. Now here's where I kind of made a rules mistake. Not last time, but the time before last. I have to make sure I don't over-apply my officer bonuses. Okay, so I will clearly... I probably should declare this beforehand. He's calling in one of those missions. He can only apply that -2 once. I was applying it multiple times in Beatrice 1. But I don't really mind because I got slaughtered in that game anyway. -1 officer will call in on that second one. And on that third one is going to be this other -1 officer over here. Okay, cool. So my preparatory barrage shit the bed. We'll see if my regular barrage does any better. I still have to add 4 because I'm bombarding bunkers, obviously. I still have to add 4. So add 4, subtract 2 for this officer who's calling in the mission. Equals a total of -2. +2. Show the webcam this time. Come on, please. I need some artillery support. A 6 becomes an 8. That is 4 casualty points out of that stack.
Mm-hmm. So we have 2 half squads over there and an officer, yes?
As soon as Excel decides to... Yep, 2 half squads and an officer, Lieutenant Laurent.
Mm-hmm. So let's obviously kill one of the half squads. And...
That's 3. You have to assess 1 more casualty point.
Sadly, we will try to pin the officer. No, we will actually pin the officer.
Okay, you know what, before we even do that, I should really resolve both artillery missions at once.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's my bad. Okay, so now this one, +4 for the bunker, minus only 1 for my officer, Lieutenant 2 here. So that's going to be a total of, I have to add 3 to this roll, not 2. And that is a 9 plus 3 becomes a 12. I can't believe that. That did no damage. Okay, so that artillery barrage did nothing. The first one did okay. Alright, next over here. Oh, jeez. 5 and 1 is 6. And that is +3 becomes 9. 3 casualty points out of Kilo 7.
So let's
lightning strike outside. That was perfect timing. Did you guys hear that lightning strike over the mic?
Yeah, I could hear something.
Lightning went off right outside my house, like right as that artillery mission resolved. Okay, so I'm sorry, 3 casualty points.
So 1 half squad down.
Awesome. And that'll be it for my artillery. I now have nothing left. It's all hand grenades and shovels from here on out. And now we will do... I don't really have any divisions or subtractions or anything. Alright, let me zoom out the map a little bit. Direct fire. Okay, direct fire. Here we go again. We're going to go ahead and pretty much cook off these recoilless rifles again before your mortars kill them. I can't see these guys because they're more than 3 hexes away from my recoilless rifles and they haven't fired yet. So these guys are technically invisible. These guys can see them, but these are not indirect fire weapons. They can't radio call back to these recoilless rifles and say hit Hotel 6. So these guys right now are safe. Also, these guys can't see because they're behind the hill. So, never mind. Alright, here we go again. I've already applied that -2 for the artillery, so I don't think I get to do it again. Let's just say I don't get to do it again. I don't know if it's in the same turn or the same phase of a turn, but let's just say no. That's going to be 15 plus 4. I have to roll a 3 or less. I wonder if I should even do this. Oh, what the hell. I'm sitting here agonizing over a really basic... no effect. Alright, cool. The hell with everything else. As far as direct fire goes, we're just going to run. Okay, so... Viet Minh movement. And here is where I am sure things are going to get hideous. 1, 2, I have to stop because of barbed wire. Any opportunity fire against that stack?
Well, I'm actually thinking because you have another stack over there with a -1 officer. So I don't know if I should waste it now or...
well, it's up to you.
Actually, let's do it for the people. Let's shoot them in the face.
Okay.
So
all right, you are now adjacent, so the hell with night rules. You have a total of 5 points left in there. No officers. However, -2 for point blank in the open. So that is going to be 5 points at -2. White row, -2.
I cannot throw in a grenade because the guy...
Oh, you are adjacent. You can now throw in a grenade. Because you're now adjacent. You can throw in a grenade, people in the chat, for adjacent direct fire. So now you are at white row -3.
And it's a 4, believe it or not.
4 becomes a 1, so it bottoms out at 2, so that's 6 casualty points. Come on, get in there. Come on, Excel, give me a break. You're embarrassing me in front of my friends. Cool. All right, some next movement. So the way barbed wire works, guys, is when you hit barbed wire, you have to stop, no matter how many movement points you have left. You can then move off of it in your assault and movement phase or your subsequent your subsequent movement phase. So he was in M9, he moves off of barbed wire. Thankfully, there was a gap here, so he's not in a barbed wire hex. He moves into Lima 7. He's now in barbed wire. He has to stop again. Okay, so that's this grenade used up. Okay, this stack cannot take opportunity fire. However, Lima 6 can if he wants.
And he will.
Okay.
And he will also throw in a grenade.
Okay. Again, people in the chat, grenades are a finite resource. Although he has quite a few, so not a bad move to be throwing them.
So a +4. No, sorry, a -4. Yes.
Yep.
-1 officer.
-1 officer, -1 grenade,
and
-2 for point blank direct into opportunity fire. So
okay.
this is going to be nasty. 6 points at -4.
It's a 6.
6 becomes a 2. That's another 6 casualty points. Come on, machine.
It's Beatrice 1 again.
Yep. Okay.
But
Good
too
news
little, too
is... Good news is... Oh, not so good. Oh, yeah. Good news is this drifted artillery blew up a hole in November 7. That's where things are going to get nice. Because again, November 7, that barbed wire is not there anymore. For people in the chat. Make sure that stack is still legal. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. Because that other thing is a this is going to be epic. All right. Unfortunately, I got a little bit of a bottleneck here with this damn gap in the. I gotta start opening this up. Okay. Oh my God! What the hell are you doing? All right. Up. Again, no barbed wire. He moves into that barbed wire hex. Now he has to stop. Oh man, this sucks.
You know what I need?
I literally have. This is a tough problem to have, but I literally have too many troops.
I need a Bearcat with an apple bomb.
There you go. Upscale, or what do they call it? Uptown problems. You're complaining you have too many troops.
Problems of the First World.
I have too many troops. They literally are getting in each other's way now. Alrighty. Oh boy. Okay, here comes potentially more opportunity fire. 1, technically 1, 2, 3. He has to stop.
Yeah, and we'll shoot him because there's nothing else we can do.
Okay.
So that's 1, 5, so it's a 6, yes? 6 in total.
You're talking about Hotel 6? Yes.
Yeah. 6
Oh
in
God,
total.
that's a captain in there too. That's the actual, again, for people in the chat, that's the historical commander of this company of Moroccan rifles. That's his actual name, and that's the actual fourth Moroccan Rifle Regiment insignia there. Okay, so he has -2 for officer because he's a really good officer. He's a captain. He's a captain. -2 more for point blank opportunity fire. Any grenades? Just to be mean?
Not this time.
So 6 at -4.
And it's a 7.
7 becomes a 3. That's 5 casualty points. Okay, so that is a total of 4 so far, and I'll pin this guy.
It's unfair because the more casualties you take, the more counters you have on the board.
Well, sort of, yeah. I'm dividing them up. That does make keeping score in Valor Victory a royal pain because you're making change, and you can't just like count up dead counters at the end, you know. But we'll get into that when we finish the game.
Sure.
Okay.
And I believe.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But Fox 4 cannot see you at any time when you move from this Golf 9.
Foxtrot 4 can see directly south. Again, you get 1 elevation hex free.
Foxtrot 5, not
Foxtrot
4.
5. Okay.
5.
He could see me when I was in. Where was I? I was in Golf 9, right? When I moved into Golf 8, you could see me for a split second. Yes, you can shoot at me while I'm in Golf 8.
And
once I go into this, you can't see me because now you're blocked by Golf 6. But here you can. So it's +1 for darkness, -1 for officer, -1 for opportunity fire in the open, a net -1. There's quite a few people in there. Oh man, full squad, half squad, support weapon, and an officer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 11 points. Oof. 11 at -1.
No, it's a 5.
5 becomes a 4, which is 4. 4 casualty points. No, you're on the 11 column, sorry. 5 becomes a 4, that's 5 casualty points. 1, 2. That would have taken place back here. So I'm saving that damn sapper, and I'm killing the officer. You betcha. By the way, thanks very much for emptying out that hex. Because
Yeah.
I got full squads now that rush up and take that assault on in.
Sneaky.
I can only bring in the officer and 2 full squads because, again, guys, 4 squads or 4 infantry units is the maximum you're allowed to have in a stack. And I don't think India 7 has fired.
India 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Technically, what am I into those?
I wonder. That's a 3. Okay, let's do this because either way you're going to assault me from a different hex, but this one is the most powerful one, so let's try to hit them once again.
Okay, so we're looking at 3 minus 2 for point blank opportunity fire.
And it's an 8.
8 becomes a 6. That is 1 casualty point. I'm going to slightly overpay. Because this is a time when you don't want to be pinned down. You're taking an assault in, you gotta make the rush. Okay, and okay, that concludes that piece of opportunity fire. I'll continue my movement. Oh, one thing I did forget to do is at the beginning of my command phase, all units rally. That were previously pinned. Oh.
So I can't remember the exact numbers, but I believe that after the first night of the Viet Minh assaults on this Eliane 2 strong point, there were like 200 French guys dead and 1,500 Viet Minh soldiers left on the field after one night.
Yeah, it would. Again, this is only part. I have a total of like 300 troops. You have like 120. This isn't the whole battle of Eliane because that battle would just be too huge. That if we wanted to do all of Eliane 2, I would almost say let's do it in Panzerleader, platoon level game, because in this game it would just be crazy. Are any of these sappers? Yes, many of them are sappers. They have to stop because they run into barbed wire. Yeah, this barbed wire is really starting to piss me off. Barbed wire can't kill you, but it slows you down. When it slows you down, that gives the enemy machine gunners another round of fire to just friggin' lay waste on you. I think that's it for movement, believe it or not, because my guys have to stop when they enter a barbed wire hex. And they are limited to 4 infantry units in a hex, so I can't overstack. So I think that's it. Alright, your defensive fire phase. I believe all we'll be looking at is your 2 mortars.
Yep.
Okay.
So, first one will go into Hotel 7.
Okay. Which mortar?
Oh, actually, Hotel 7. No, not Hotel 7. We will try to pin your units in Lima 7 and the mortar from Echo 2.
Okay. Sweet. So this guy has already used his -1 bonus during opportunity fire, so it's just going to be 6 points. 6 points.
Yeah. And it's 7.
7 on 6 is 1 casualty point. So sure enough, you pin somebody down. I'm sorry, you said Lima 7?
Yep.
Cool. I will pin down this dude. Okay.
And the second mortar will go into Kilo 8.
Gotcha. Kilo 8. Cool. Go for it. Same roll.
It's a 7 again.
7 is another 1 casualty point in Kilo 8. Alright. We now go to Viet Minh Advance and Assault phase.
And we've been all waiting for that.
Yes, we have. All right, so super fast. Let's do the easy ones first. I have 2 sapper teams in this hex. They're going to go ahead and try to take 2 chances. Can mortars still see more than 3? Yes, because what's happening is, Gaz, they're being called in by the people that are right there. So he can see, obviously, and what he's doing is he's calling in the mortar. Almost by definition, the mortars can never see their targets, their indirect fire weapons. The difference is he's used, like Lieutenant Marceau here, has already used his -1 during opportunity fire, and I think we were overusing this before. You're supposed to, I think, use that -1 once per turn. The one exception we make for that is our casualty evacuation rules, but we'll come to that when we come to that. But good question. All right, so again, I have 2 sapper checks down here. What do we say for sappers? Is 1, 2, or 3, or 1, 2, or 4? 1 through a 4 is a success.
Yep.
All right, cool. So down here, not that it really matters. There's nobody behind them, but what the hell? I'm tired of barbed wire. Boom, we blow a hole in that barbed wire. No sappers. No sappers. I have a sapper hex there, or a sapper unit there. 6, he fails. Sapper unit there, succeeds. This is almost kind of pointless at this point, but... Oh, here's one that's not pointless. This would actually be helpful. This one here, or specifically that one there. And of course, that's the one that fails. Opening up a gap there would have been sweet. It gives it some more movement options for these follow-on platoons. Okay, we already did that one. There's no sappers there. Those sappers are going to be doing something else. Okay, cool. Now for the real assaults. All right. We are assaulting this bunker from this stack here. I have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 versus your 3. Because this pinned unit doesn't count. In fact, he's already been destroyed. Once you assault a unit with a pinned stack, that's it. So it's 14 to 3. You always round in favor of the defender. That is 3 to 1. I have -2 for sapper. I'm throwing in 3 grenades. Because I want this assault to succeed, goddammit. Make it 2. Let me not be stupid here. Okay, are you throwing in any grenades from your one guy?
Yeah, 1 grenade. This time I will use it here.
Okay, so -2 for my sapper, -2 more for my grenades. My officer is a crappy one, he's -0. Again, that's a house rule. He lets people have officer abilities. He can call in artillery missions. He gives a 6 movement rate. He does all the normal officer stuff. He just doesn't give a bonus. Alright, so 2 for the grenades, 2 for the sappers, 1 for your grenade. That gives me a net -3 on the assault table. -3 on the 3 to 1. I literally can't fail. Because I have to roll, like, 9 plus 3 is 12. I have to roll 12 or less. So for whatever it's worth, yeah, cool. So it succeeds. It goes in. Boom. I own that hex. Now, no matter what, I still have to pay, however, 1 casualty point per infantry unit in the hex. That was 1. Plus 1 for terrain bonuses in the hex. That's 4 for a bunker. I have to pay 5 freaking casualty points to take that hex. Because I hate my life. Alright, so there goes 4. Oh, the sapper team automatically blows up. And by the way, that 2 casualty points for the blown up sapper team does not count toward my butcher's bill. And I'll go ahead and pin him down. And I own that stack. and that was 2 more casualty points in there. 1 that was already in there, 1 for the officer, and 1 for the half squad I just took out. I now own those 3 casualties, which means they count as prisoners of war. Prisoners of the Viet Minh in 1954, good luck with all that. That's 24 victory points right there. I don't think I'm going to be holding that stack, or I should say holding that, destroyed. I don't think I'm going to be holding that bunker, because I'm pretty sure he's going to be able to retake it in a second. But we will see. We'll see if I can rally that half squad. Make sure I did that right. Okay, cool. Yes, I did that right. This guy's a secured casualty. These guys are unsecured casualties. Cool. He's done. Well, for advance and assault phase, he'll move 1 hex that way. These guys will move 1 hex that way. Not the sappers. The sappers were busy blowing a hole in that barbed wire, so they have to stay there. Advance and assault phase. Continues. Crest the hill. Sweet. Another assault coming in here. Alright, I have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 versus 5. 1-to-1 odds. That's not good. I'm throwing in 1, 2, 3 grenades. Make that 2 grenades.
Good. I will throw in 1 grenade.
Alright.
I wasted the last one, but this time I hopefully it will do something.
Yeah, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Minus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's 1-to-1. Oh man, I have a net -1. So it's even money. I have to roll a 7 or less on 1-to-1. Again, I get a +1 bonus because of my grenade. So it's odds. It's even odds.
You can do it.
Oh no! Uncle Ho, help me! 8, I just missed! Repelled assault. Sing La Bodine for the for the French Foreign Legion. Okay, that's a repelled assault. I have to pay 1 point for every infantry unit that was in the stack that I was attacking, plus terrain bonus, +4 for a bunker, plus the amount by which I failed the roll. So there's 1 infantry unit in the hex. That's 1. 4 for the bunker is 5. I missed the roll by 1. That's 6. That cost me 6 casualty points. There weren't 6 casualty points in that assault. That whole freaking stack is wiped out. You have to lose 1 casualty point for every unit that was in the assault. There were 3 units in the assault. So I'm pretty sure that squad, half squad, is wiped out. We wiped each other out. Now that's a casualty in that stack. Another one, I should say.
And you just can simply walk in from the Lima 7 hex.
Yeah, I can now assault that for free. But that means that is an assault that I was going to use somewhere else, to be perfectly honest. There's a sapper in there anyway. I was going to double sapper your ass. I have 3 sappers right outside that bunker. 1, 2, 3. Triple team sapper. Alright, hey. Nguyen, take your hand off the lanyard. Do not blow yourself up yet. We're going to take this without actually blowing yourself up. It's okay. It's okay.
Now you can blow yourself up.
No, do not blow yourself up. We're inside. Ooh. Crap. Let me not make this mistake again. Only 2 infantry units ever allowed in a bunker. I keep making this mistake. And he's carrying the light machine gun, and he has to stay out here because he's pinned anyway. Okay, cool. Now it's legal. I own that stack. These are another 16 victory points for captured casualties. This is how these games work. I've noticed. I always fail to take the bunkers, or I take them, but then I lose them almost immediately. and so I
And then
lose
you
on
take them
victory
again?
hexes. Well, I lose the game on objective hexes, but I win the game, or I do well in the game on casualty points, because the French just cannot take these kind of casualties. Okay, so that's these grenades used up. I'll just go ahead and take them off the board. Last assault is this do or die mission here, which is not. This is probably going to be the toughest one. 1, 2, 3, 4 times 2 is total of. I have a total of 10 points. -4 for 2 sappers. +1 for your officer gives me a total of 10 -3. You have 1, 2, 3. You have 7, 6. So that's some pretty crappy math. If you have 5, I'd get 2 to 1, but I only have 1 to 1. So it's 1 to 1 +3. So I need to roll a 9 or less.
I will throw in a grenade.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, if you throw in a grenade, and now I have to roll an 8 or less. I want that bunker. I'm throwing in a grenade as well.
I want a satchel charge.
What? I didn't put any satchel charges in this one. I learned my lesson about satchel charge. Hey, I'm the Viet Minh. I have the sappers. I'm the only one with satchel charges. Okay, you get freaking elite units, man, and you get tanks coming on your turn. I mean, you don't need satchel charges too. Okay, so we're back up to a 9 or less. I want this hex. I want this bunker. Come on, do it. And that's gonna be webcam time. Fucking 10!
Oh my god. It's not happening, guys.
I needed a 9. I rolled a 10. Grenade used up. Grenade used up. You have a total of 2 infantry units in the hex, +6, or +4 makes 6, plus I missed the roll by 1. I have to pay 7 casualty points. And these bunkers don't count, or I should say these sappers don't count, and there's only 4 infantry. Yeah, they're all dead. Look at that. There's just stack the bodies outside the bunker, man. Oh my god, Uncle Ho, you've abandoned us. Alright, there were 4 infantry units. There were 4 infantry units in there. You have to take 4 casualties. You still own that friggin' hex.
Yeah, so let's get rid of the half squad and pin the officer. Because that's the only way they can survive.
And there's a casualty in that hex. Although you still own the hex, that casualty could technically still get rescued. Okay.
This guy in Lima 6 is crapping his pants.
Yep. Hey, he looks outside here. There was a stack here, there's a stack there. There's like 40 dead Viet Minh just piled up in this barbed wire. Along with 3 frickin' sapper squads. He's just like, yeah, we're still here. Vive la France. Alright. We'll now go to Viet Minh after action phase, super fast. We'll try to rally the guy in India 7, 6 or less. Yes, my rally checks are much more difficult than his because I'm not elite. I failed it with a 9. Kilo 8. Hell no. And Lima 7. Hell yes. Hey, one guy made it. And that concludes Viet Minh turn 2. That could have gone better. But then again, wave 2 is right here. Alright, we now begin with command phase for the French. First of all, anybody who is pinned automatically rallies. We go now to divisions. Anang Naronai, hopefully I'm saying that right. Welcome in Facebook, on YouTube. Thank you for coming by our stream. I appreciate it. Hopefully you enjoy our look at Operation, well, it's not really Operation, the Battle of Dien Bien Phu, or the assault on Strongpoint Eliane 2. We are now, I'm playing the Viet Minh, my friend Piotr is playing the French and Moroccans, and I was doing pretty well, now I'm not so sure. Okay, so we're continuing with turn 2 of French command phase. Any divisions or subtractions? Or divisions or combinations?
Not really. I don't think so. I need to move and attack a little bit. So
yeah, because science teacher says poor Jim. Yes, now you say poor Jim. I failed 2 assaults by 1 point. I needed an 8, I rolled a 9. I needed a 9, I rolled a 10. Thanks, dice. I'm going to throw you in the freaking garbage disposal today.
This whole situation, COVID situation ends, I will send you a beer from Poland.
Oh no. Oh god. Okay, so if no more divisions, then we go straight to your direct fire. Your support missions if you want.
Oh yeah, and I need them actually. So.
You know what's messed up? I don't think you're going to need any of your flares.
Not anymore.
I don't think so. I think we're so close that these night rules are kind of out the window.
Okay, so let's drop one into India 8.
Okay, India 8, call in the fire mission. You do have an officer with line of sight on it. That is Lieutenant Nakode, or Captain Nakode in Hotel 6. He can see that hex, barely, but he can see it.
And does anyone see, but I don't think so, actually, your guys in Juliet 7?
Juliet 7.
When it comes to my officers?
Ooh, I don't...
Not really.
Actually, yes. Oh, actually, no. Give me a second. Actually, yes.
Guy from Hotel 3, yes?
Hotel 3, because he's in a building, he's not in a trench hex, he sees across all this mess, and he can see Juliet 7, yes.
Kaboom.
That is Luciani, that is the historical commander of, at least as far as I can tell, 1st Company, 1st Battalion of the... he may not have been in charge of the whole company, but he was in charge of the French Foreign Legion that was... Paras that were here, the BEP company that was here, or at least what was left of them. Yeah. They started off this game half strength to reflect their historical status, which was not good, and of course they got the hell kicked out of them during the battle. Like Piotr was saying, I think there was like 6 troops and 1 officer left out of the whole company by the time this was done.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad.
At least only after the barrage.
Yeah. Okay, so all right, let's see if they land where they're supposed to. We'll go with India 8 on a 1d6.
It's a 2.
2. It lands where it's supposed to. We now go to Juliet 7.
And it's a 5.
That one drifts.
And a 2.
Oh, hold on. Okay, I'm running a note here. Hello. Alright, cool. So it drifts 1 hex to number 2. It lands on my other guys. Thanks, dice. That's okay. That happened to you twice earlier in the game, so I won't complain too much. Okay, and at least they're still in a bunker. Alrighty, so they're both called in by -2 officers, I'm sorry to say. So it's -2 on India 8, -2.
Oh, it's a 6.
6 becomes a 4. That is 7 casualty points. I don't think I can save that hex. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, I can't save them. Not against 7. You rolled a 6. That becomes a 4. On the yellow light barrage row, yeah, that's 7 casualty points. Ba-boom! Okay, and then we'll roll for the guys in Kilo 7. Now, they get a +4 to their roll. Minus your 2, net -2. +2, sorry. Yellow table, +2.
And it's a 5.
5 becomes a 7 for casualty points. Oh man, you blew them out of that bunker. That's not cool. There's only 3 casualty points in there. This always happens in these Viet Minh games. I always get like totally crushed. Oh no.
We need to switch sides, then I will get crashed.
No, that's cool. Like I said, according to what I was able to find, this position did hold like twice. So I'm not that worried about it this time. What was getting me a little irate was the one on Beatrice. And again, that's not as a player. I mean, it's fine if you win or lose. That's not the point. It's as the guy who designs the scenarios, and they're coming out this weird. It's like, okay, I didn't do something right as a designer. That's when I get, okay, we're gonna redesign this game and play it again. Okay, we're gonna redesign this game and play it again. I mean,
it's like a 5 minutes per turn, yes?
Roughly. Yeah, Valor Victory is a little nebulous as far as exact scales. I usually play 25 hexes, or I usually design to 25 hexes per, 25 meters per hex, and about a minute or 5 minutes per turn.
So you should know, in our Beatrice scenarios, you should have 25 turns of 8 pre-set-up more heavy barrages.
Well, yeah, that's sort of an abstract of sum total of the entire barrage. No, I would not hit you with what would that be? 160 heavy barrages.
Just being goofy.
Yeah, that would be nuts. Okay. All right, so now we go to your direct fire phase. Not that you need it. Although, you know what? I'm sitting here worrying about taking back these bunkers. What are you going to take them back with?
Yeah.
And if you run towards them, you're catching opportunity fire big time. At least from some angles.
From what I see, you can hit me from Juliet 7 if I would try to get into one of the bunkers.
It depends on the direction.
Yeah.
And depends on who's making the run. There are some blind angles into Kilo 7. There are some that aren't.
True. Okay. Anyway, let's drop in some mortars first.
Okay.
So let's try to pin these guys actually the officer in India 7.
These are his on-board mortars, folks, because he's used up all his off-board support. Okay. So first 6-point mission is coming in which direction? Or on which hex?
India 6. India 7. The guys in the bunker, the officer and the pink half squad.
Okay, cool. Go ahead and drop it in. He gets no bonuses because the -2 guy who's calling it in has already called in a mission. So it's going to be +4 for the bunker. Hold on, let me see if there's a way around that. Let me not be cheesy.
Not really.
Technically, this guy can see that hex because, again, I'm in a bunker that does not count as a trench. I'm in a building above the bunker. So you at least can get a -1. Okay. So again, officers, everybody can call in as many missions as they want, but they can only apply their bonus, if any, to one strike. And he's already done that on his off-board mission, which was probably the smart move. You want to use your best bonuses with your biggest attacks. Here he's going to use his -1. Now 1, 2, 3. Okay, he's within darkness limits. So it's just going to be a straight out +3 on the white row. Because I am in a bunker, thank God.
Okay. Oh no, it's a 9.
9 becomes a 12. That is no effect.
And the second mortar.
You French build really good bunkers. We like it in here. I think we're going to stay. It's nice and cozy in here. You guys started a fresh pot of coffee for us. We appreciate it. You knew we were coming.
There's a bottle of wine.
We didn't know that. Thank you. I just found it. I appreciate it.
Okay.
From Chateau Picard in Star Trek Picard.
Okay, right. And let's drop another one on your guys in November 6th.
Okay, November 6th. Where is November 6th? Oh, there's November. Okay, November 6th is in the open.
Yeah,
all right, so that's going to be 6. Who's calling that? Okay, Lima 6 can carry that, can call that in. Lima 6 has not called in any artillery yet. So he can call in -1. So it's just straight out -1 on the white row.
And it's a 5.
5 becomes a 4. Is 4 casualty points. There's only 3 casualty points in there. Toast! Alright.
Kaboom.
Alright. That's it for mortars, direct, onboard, and otherwise. We now go to rifles and machine guns. Regular direct fire.
So actually, the only thing I can see is the guys in Hotel 6, I believe, because I cannot see you from Foxtrot hexes anyway.
To be perfectly honest, I almost shouldn't say this, but yes, India 7 again is a bunker. So once he's in a bunker, he's above the trenches.
That's true.
It's a nice +4 bonus. Unfortunately, almost everybody can see you because you're in this big concrete box.
That's true.
They can't hurt you, but they can see you.
However, we are going to take these guys from Hotel 6 and shoot you at Hotel 7.
Okay. All right. Any grenades because you're point blank?
It's a 6 -2.
It's not -2 because that -2 has already called in an off-board mission.
Oh yeah, that's true. Sorry.
You've got 4 grenades left. You don't have to. I'm just okay. Cool. Yeah, there's something I often forget. Whenever you're firing APFP at point blank range, you can throw in a grenade. 1 grenade per infantry unit in your firing hex. So, all right, cool. So you got a total of 6 points. 6 points.
And it's a 2.
Oh my God! Snake Eyes?
Yep.
Okay, first of all, he's destroyed because that's 6 casualty points. There's only 4 there. Then roll an actually 6. 1 for elite plus 2 for the bonus. Roll 9 or less on 2d6 for Mr. Nakode here.
It's a 9.
Barely made it, but he is now valorous. Oh my God, there's literally no mercy for me. He now has valorous officers on the table. Okay, and now for that half squad. That half squad gets a 3 or less on 2d6. He's not elite. Oh, he wasn't. He failed. You know what? I already said you succeeded, and it's fun to do it just for the game. Technically, Nakode is not a elite officer. He only has to roll an 8 or less. So, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and put it on there anyway, even though I think you rolled a 9. Yeah, but it's fun, man. And it's only an officer. Valorous officers aren't that big a deal. It's when a squad or a full squad becomes valorous. That's when it's scary.
You know what it reminds me of? The A Bridge Too Far movie when they got into the supply drop and it turns out that there were medals inside there.
Yep. You just nothing but in here but berets. Yeah. So we'll get to it at a later time. Guys, probably not even in this stream because this guy's turn's pretty much over. But valorous units. If you roll Snake Eyes, everybody in that stack gets a chance to make a valorous check. The more people that are in the stack, i.e. the number of casualty points in there, the more chance that somebody in that stack just became the next Jean-Claude Van Damme, and he's now just a bona fide freaking badass. And you make a roll based on that. Nakode has now just made that roll. He's a pretty badass dude. Again, it depends on whether or not you're elite, or whether or not you have an officer in there, and all this other nonsense. But that bonus now is going to carry through the rest of the game, and that's going to be again it's not everybody he's stacked with; it's just him. So it's not that big a deal, but still, it'll be fun to check out, see how it works, demonstrated in the stream.
Cool.
Okay, guys, thanks very much for coming by. Enjoy your dinner, sir. Yeah, we're almost done, at least with the stream.
See you soon, guys.
Yeah, we're not gonna finish this whole game. Typical Valor Victory game is 6 turns. We're now finishing turn 2. This is a very, very big game, and we're bullshitting and explaining rules or whatever. Normally, Valor Victory runs a lot faster than this, But it's not just a game; it's a stream. So we're trying to have fun and have chatter while we go. Okay, so any more direct fire?
I don't think so, because I actually cannot see you
Let's go to movement.
anywhere else, except for this guy in Lima 6 trying to shoot you at Lima 7. But
Lima 6 okay, yeah. He's literally 1 point. But hey, he can't apply his -1 because he did that for a Turley barrage, but he's on the red row.
let's do this. Let's shoot you at Lima 7.
Yep.
Oh God, it's a 7.
Barely missed. Well, it's literally a guy with a MAT 49 or a pistol saying, "Go away from my bunker." Jen is now hungry for fish and chips. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. She's going to be making fish and chips for the rest of the week now. Appreciate it. Cheers. Is that the right word? Cheers. I have to master the sarcastic British cheers. I have to figure out how that works. I'm not going to try my British accent, guys, so everyone relax. My British accent has already been roundly criticized by everybody in God's creation. Okay.
I'm going to put myself up here, but you can always try to do the Sean Connery accent.
I used to think I could do a good Sean Connery, then people told me that I couldn't, so I'm not going to try it. I've humiliated myself enough on this stream.
Okay, so that's it for direct fire.
It should be a special rule that you have to do this whole game in a French accent.
Oh yeah. Oh no. Oh God.
Although technically, again, Foreign Legion, not really French, most of them, and half of your force are Moroccan colonials. So these are some of the least Frenchmen in a while. All right, cool. So then we will go to your movement phase.
Oh, and this is going to be fun.
Oh yeah.
So let's take the half squad from Juliet 5.
Yep.
And I'm thinking if I can approach without taking any opportunity fire. Your guys from November 5 will be able to see me if I'm correct.
Yep.
If I move this way, then you can see me. But your guys in Juliet 7 cannot see me while I'll be jumping from Juliet 5 to Kilo 6.
Okay, it depends on how, and I'll explain this because this is more or less what's the word I'm thinking of here? This is trench. Let me go ahead and zoom in a little bit. This is Oriskany's crazy World War I expansion, 1918 Valor and Victory. This is not regular Valor and Victory. So, half squad, Juliet 5 wants to get into bunker Kilo 7. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Number of ways to do that. Here's the worst. 1, 2. Okay, when he moves here into 1, point blank opportunity fire from both of these guys because they're adjacent. Cool. Next, he can go 1, 2, 3. You know what? None of this matters because this clown is in a bunker. Oh, no, he's not. Never mind. So,
he's in the open.
When he goes 1, well, he's in the open, which means I can shoot down into a trench anyway. So I can see... I can see you no matter what you do. So you might as well do 1, 2, 3 like that. You follow the trenches, because at least then you're never adjacent.
Yeah, I was thinking of taking this way, but then you will still get opportunity fire, but without the -2 point blank bonus. Yes.
Yes.
Because I'm in the bunker.
Once you're in the bunker, well, if I wait until you're in the bunker, I get the -2. However, you're in the bunker, you get the +4. Either way, it's going to be, I can hit you there at -2 or +2, because the trench. I can hit you there at +2. I can hit you there at net +2.
So so he will not move actually.
Okay.
I will let him be, but I will take the guys from Kilo 5 and try to put them into Lima 6.
Lima 6. Okay, cool. He moves 1 hex. We open fire with opportunity fire. Opportunity fire provides negatives. -2 if you're point blank, -1 if you're not point blank. However, -1 for non-point blank only applies if you are in the open. You are not in the open, you are in a trench, so I have to pay the full trench penalty. I'm going to open fire out of November 5 with a total of 16 points at +2.
Okay.
Snake Eyes!
Nice.
Snake Eyes! And that was the full triple stacked squad. Oh, sweet mother of God. If only these were decent troops. Oh, damn it all. That was on camera too.
Cool.
Okay, so the officer becomes valorous on a 6 or less. No. Squad number 1, valorous on a 4 or less. No. Valorous on a 4 or less. No. Last one, valorous on a 4 or less. No. That's okay, I'll take the Snake Eyes. That is 16 on Snake Eyes. That is... actually, no, because I have to add 2 for trench. 5 casualty points.
Oh, yeah. Still, if I divide it, it will be 3, and I twin it, it will be 4, so they are gone. If I'm right.
That is correct. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you have to, yeah, you still have to pay the 5. Oh my God! Yes, Jen says the tables have turned, or the tide has turned at least for one roll. That is true. That was pretty sweet. I will not
Payback.
even complain. I will take that roll with a smile on my face. Lieutenant Ho, you are the new Uncle Ho. Uncle Ho is no longer Ho Chi Minh. It is now this, Lieutenant Hoi Van Ho. That's you, man. You are the new Uncle Ho. All right, sweet. Okay, any other movement you want to do?
Since you have used up the opportunity fire from November 5.
From November 5, yes.
Yeah, I will take India 4 and put him into Kilo 5.
Okay, so India 4. Okay, where is he going in like what direction?
Into Kilo 5.
Okay, cool.
And
1, 2, 3. He never leaves the trench. Yeah, he's fine.
And but actually he can move into Kilo 6 because I don't think you can shoot him with anything else. Maybe the guys from the bunker.
Koi Van Ho's twin brother down here, because I just copied the counter. Can't see you because I'm right behind the hill. If you move into Kilo 6, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, if you follow the trenches, you can move into Kilo 6. There's no worries there. I can take opportunity fire. Again, this is not. He's not in a trench, so he can see all the way across. He can see you the whole way. I just don't know if I want to use it for that. So I don't know what else you're going to do. I don't trust you anymore. Also, I don't think I'm going to get that lucky again. Oh, what the hell. I'm sitting here deliberating and agonizing over simple decisions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, -1, +2 for your trenches equals a total of -1 at, +1 at, on the white row. I'm going to go ahead and take the shot while you are in Kilo 5. So this guy's up here technically for the moment. +1 on this row here.
Cool.
Another good roll, please. A 3. Holy shit, my dice have totally turned around. 3 becomes a 4. Is 4 casualty points.
So a pink half squad.
I believe so, because these are newly created. Actually, no. I'm pretty sure he's destroyed. Oh, first of all, I'm screwing up.
Oh yeah, true. Because a half squad has 3 casualties.
The half squad, yeah. So you only pay for 2 when you knock him down to half, and then when you pin him, that gets rid of 3, and you have to actually settle 4. So actually, that's another.
Yep. So they're toast.
Holy crap. This is the best opportunity fire phase ever. I will cheerfully ask you if you want to continue to move units. This is going pretty well. Are you sure you don't want to move anything else?
Yes, I'm positive that I want to move something.
Okay.
And we will try to get these guys from Foxtrot 5.
Okay. Foxtrot 5, I got them. Yeah, I was
we
wondering
will...
why you weren't firing those guys, but now I know. Yeah.
Yeah. And they will move. Oh god damn it! Into Hotel 4.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Never leaving the trench. My guys are in a bunker. They could see that. Although I have a grand total of 3 points at -0.
Not really, because it's the back of the bunker, I believe.
You are correct. I could not see that. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, bunkers. Everybody can only fire out of their forward firing arc. Yeah, I almost made a mistake there. Thank you.
So that's it for movement.
Actually, no, it's not, because here the trundle of our tanks. Beginning of the movement phase. Those tanks, like I said, came in on the beginning of turn 2. This is the beginning of turn 2.
I totally forgot about them.
2 M-24 Chafees arrived down this road. Now, this is the first time we've used vehicles in our French Indochina series. So we'll talk about the movement super fast. They have a movement rate of 12. That sounds really good. The problem is it costs them a point every time they make a turn.
Sorry, Jim, give me a second, okay? I
Yep.
have to deal with something.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Be right back.
All right, so while he is taking care of that, everyone, I will tidy up the map a little bit. We are almost done for the night. We've been streaming now for 2.5 hours. That's not too bad. That's pretty much what I expected. 2 turns in about 2 hours. We talked history for the better part of the first half hour, if not 45 minutes of the stream. But that is just something you're going to have to come to expect when you have Oriskany plus Yavasa or Oriskany plus LSR 2590. You are going to get a fair amount of history in there, depending on the exact subject matter. Like if you get, who is it? If you get me and Damon talking about the Arab-Israeli wars, you're going to be here for a while.
All right, then I'm back.
Cool. I was just, commiserating with the chat. I'm like, if you get Oriskany and Yavasa talking about French Indochina, or Oriskany and Dylan talking about Black Powder, or Oriskany and Damon talking about Arab-Israeli wars, the first half of the stream is going to be a history fireside chat for a while.
That's cool, actually. For
Okay.
the guys that talk, I don't know.
I was going to say, it's definitely cool for us. Everyone else is like, drooling on their keyboard by this point. Okay, so the biggest problem I think you're going to have with these tanks is movement.
Yeah.
Because they're not allowed to cross trenches.
So they can only actually reach Echo 3, and that's all. If I'm correct.
In World War I, they're allowed to cross trenches if they make a roll, but then the trench is wrecked. So it's up to you whether or not you want to cross the trench. I forget. Yeah, that is how we actually did the rules. We did have one World War I tank battle in Valor and Victory. I'm trying to remember the rules we've made up for it. Because again, the trenches here are World War I trench rules. It's not the trench rules that we normally have in Valor and Victory. All right, so I'm sorry, you said you was going to Echo 3?
Yeah.
Okay, you can put 2 vehicles in a hex. They basically count as 2 squads for stacking purposes.
And we will actually do that because we will not move them any further.
Alright, so super fast for people in the chat, and also, again, this is the first time we've used them in our Indochina game. Make a copy of it super fast, so you can just blow it up here. Okay, so there's a lot of numbers on these counters. Okay, so Um, M20. That's obviously what the vehicle looks like. M24 is nomenclature. 12 is the movement rate. C. This is the main gun, right over here. The C and 10. C is its armor penetration value. That's not going to come into this game because there's no Viet Minh tanks on the board, sadly. So you don't have to worry about the C. Oops. The 10 is the armor piercing. I'm sorry, the anti-personnel firepower factor. So that's basically a really huge machine gun. It fires on the white rope. Okay, it's in a turret, so it can fire in any direction. Then we have the 4 and the 3. The 4 in a white circle, anything in a white circle can fire in any direction. So the 4, and these are the same gun. So don't worry about the fact that that 10 is not in a white circle. That C and that 10 are the same gun. Over here we have the 4 in a circle, 360-degree firing arc. That's the 50 cal on the roof on a pintle. He can fire in any direction. Then we have the 3, that's the 30 cal in the bow. He can only fire frontal firing arc. So there's a lot of stuff on the table on this, but again, it's because some tanks don't have turrets, some tanks have different machine guns and different configurations, and the game is sort of set up with the rules, and the counters have to be designed in such a way where they'll support all these other kind of crazy options. And then the armor rating is B for both front and flank armor because it's a light tank. B is pretty bad. An RPG will go right through B with not too much trouble. Those recoilless rifles have an armor piercing rating of C. C is bigger than B, so be warned. These guys will put a hole in that Chaffee pretty easily. It's not automatic, but it's not going to be a terribly tough roll either. The hard part's going to be hitting you, but once I hit you, penetrating the armor is not going to be too tough. And evidence of that is by the M-24 Chafees that are still sitting at Dien Bien Phu to this day. They're all part of they're all part of the memorial. So, needless to say, none of them left that battlefield. Okay, so that's going to complete your movement. We go to my defensive fire phase. My defensive fire is going to commence. I cannot fire anybody that fired defensive fire. So I fired this stack and I fired this stack. This stack didn't shoot at anybody, I don't think. Oh, yeah, because he has no line of fire. Again, he's in a bunker, and that bunker can only fire forward. I have a total of 3 points into a bunker. 4 points into a trench. Is that even worth it? 4 or less. Let me not push my luck. I don't want to push my luck. Down here we have a total of 16 points firing into this bunker. 16 at -4. I have to roll a 4 or less. Seven, no effect. One, two, three. I have a total of. I have to roll a 5 or less on this one. A5. 1 casualty point on Lima 6. Looks like he is pinned.
Enough.
Just enough to pin him down. That's okay. You get a chance to roll at the end of your action. At the end of the after action phase, you may rally him. Next, we have this guy who's going to try and do 1 more casualty point. 16 -4.
What guy?
I have to roll a 4 or less. Oh, N5 has already fired. Sorry.
Yeah, November 5 did.
N5 has already fired. No. No.
Yes.
No, I'm correcting myself. Lima 6 is okay. That shot I took at you from here was illegal. Oscar 8 cannot see you. He's behind that stupid hill. Yeah. So yeah, Lieutenant there in Lima 6 is fine. Sorry. All right, yeah, that's good because most of my guys can't see. All right, cool. The only pit of defensive fire I will take is my boy here. I keep forgetting about my little fire base. He's only in a trench. Right? It's not a bunker. -2 for trenches, -1 for darkness, because he has fired. We're looking at a total of 15 points at -2 plus 3, so 15 points at add 1. So I have to add 1 to this on the gray table. Come on, I want to kill that valorous captain. You will have no valorous units. With a 7 becomes an 8. That's 1 casualty point.
Okay, so we will pin the officer.
Are you sure you want to pin the officer?
Actually, if I want to assault you, I don't think I have another choice.
You want to assault me? Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking about the rally phase. He wants that bunker back, guys.
Just for fun.
Alrighty. Normally, it's always best to leave the... I mean, in this case, I understand what you're thinking, but normally it's always a good idea to leave your officers, especially a good one, unpinned, because at the end of the turn, when you get to start rallying, that -2 comes in real handy to start rallying, guys. Alright, so that's going to be it for my direct fire. We now go to your assault, advance, and assault phase.
A lot of crawling to be done. Okay. So the guys in Hotel 4 will crawl into India 4.
All of them?
Yes, all of them.
Okay. Dragging that 30 cal with them.
Yep. The full squad in Echo 4 will go into Gold 5.
Where is Echo? Okay, gotcha. There's nothing in Echo 4.
Sorry, not Echo 4.
Foxtrot?
Fox 4.
Okay.
Sorry.
The full squad goes into Fox 5. He jumps out of the trench. He jumps in the next trench. No worries.
Okay, now Juliet 5 will crawl into Kilo 5, the half squad.
Juliet 5 crawls into...
Kilo 5.
Gotcha. Kilo 5. Oh, I'm moving the casualty. Is it the half squad or...
Yes, the half squad.
Cool. You just literally don't have enough medics.
Yeah.
Medic!
And the medic actually will move to Hotel 4 from Gold 5.
To Hotel... Oh,
the guy from Gold 5. The medic in Gold 5. Okay, and now the half squad will try to assault you, and Hotel 6 will try to assault the bunker just to get annihilated.
Okay, he has a light assault weapon, so he can use that in the assault. He has a total of 5 points. He's pinned, he can't help. He's got a light assault weapon, he can't help. So it's literally just an officer by himself with a DP machine gun. He's 3 points. 3 versus 5, that's still 1-to-1 odds. He can't carry in the officer with him, so he gets no bonus for that. Your odds are 6 or less, unless you throw in some grenades.
I will throw in 1 grenade.
You can only throw in 1 grenade because you've only got 1 infantry unit going in there. So 1 grenade goes in. Your odds are now 7 or less on 2d6. Even money.
It's a 2. Snake eyes.
2. He makes it. All right, cool. No chance for Valorous because it's only on anti-fire personnel firepower checks. Nevertheless, that's a successful assault. Everybody in the stack, no matter how many are in there, are automatically wiped out. However, you have to pay. You don't have to pay for him. He was pinned. You have to pay 1 infantry unit plus 4 for the bunker. Makes a total of 5 casualty points. There's only 3 casualty points in there. Mutual annihilation. And there is now a casualty point. You were in the bunker for a second. So there's now a casualty point in that bunker. Unsecured. That is the result of that assault.
Oh yeah.
Captain Dakota's like, I told you not to go in there! Wait for me! But
it was for the people of the screen.
Yeah, that's true. It's fun to see. Hey, I'll trade an officer for a French half squad any day of the week. Trust me. Well, technically, I traded two units, but hey, I'll take that money any day. When I outnumber you 3-1, and I'll trade casualties with you at 2-1, I'll end up on the winning end of that transaction.
Of course, that's true.
That's my inner Stalin coming out. I'm channeling Zhukov. We outnumber them 3-1, but we're taking losses at 2-1. That's okay. We outnumber them 3-1. They'll hit the bottom before we do. Don't worry about it.
Okay, and that's it for my assault and movement phase. So.
Oh my god. Okay, now it's time for one hell of an after-action phase. Okay, let's just do it row by or column by column. These two tanks make me nervous. Column by column, casualty number 1. Does he die? 5 or 6?
Nope, it's a 4.
He is barely alive, but he's hanging on. Okay, this medic automatically evacuates 1 casualty. Sweet. Now we go down to Kilo 5. This Foreign Legion half squad will try to evacuate one of those 2 casualties.
It's a 7.
He did succeed, albeit barely. He's safely on his way back to, well, I was going to say, I guess back to the airfield. Okay, this casualty now has to roll a 5 or has to roll a bleed out check.
It's a 6, so he dies.
He passes away. Slips away into the night. He's in a better place. Okay, 2 more guys down here in Kilo 6.
It's a 5 and a 3, so 1 dies.
1 is in a better place. Okay, now this guy gets to try to evacuate one of these 2 casualties in there. He owes an 8 or less because he's a -1 officer.
And it's an 8, so he barely made it.
He barely made it, but he did save him. He gives him a letter. Give this to my wife, because he knows he's not making it out of there. And roll a bleed out for the other casualty.
It's a 1.
He's okay for now. Put me back in the fight, sir. Oh man, there's a lot of cleanup here.
And let's try to unpin the guy in Hotel 6.
Oh, true. He has to roll a 7 or less because he's an elite unit. He does not get to apply his -2 for himself because he's pinned. But he's still elite. No, he's not elite. Sorry, I keep forgetting. Those Moroccans are not elite. He has to roll a 6 or less.
Okay. It's a 5.
He did make it after all that rigmarole.
He's got a medal, come on.
Oh, yeah, no shit. I forgot about that. You know what? He technically... Oh, yeah. All right, cool. Well, then again, he wasn't supposed to... No worries. That's just for fun. We've made... Valor's units happen so infrequently that I'll admit I made a couple rules errors on that. Number 1, he shouldn't even be wearing that. Because I forgot he wasn't elite. But elite units, just for the record, for people on the stream, do get to just straight out ignore the first casualty point they sustain. So I don't know if he was legit elite, if he was legit valorous, he wouldn't even have to be pinned, which means that assault could have gone in with a -2, which means, but again, he shouldn't be valorous because I assessed the chance at a 8 instead of a 7, and then you roll an 8, but it's fine. Again, valorous units, that's one of those things that come up so rarely. You have to roll snake eyes to even get a chance to make the roll. And then once they do become valorous, there's a number of rules. Some of them are a little complicated.
I've made so many mistakes during this game that, you know, I'm not saying I'm letting you win, but but this assault was actually for fun. But when I lost these 2 full squads in Kilo 5 and Kilo 6,
that wasn't any fault of yours. That was just I got good dice for a change.
Yeah, that was game.
That was some hot dice right there. I think I may actually own that southern tip now.
Yep,
Um,
I believe you do. But we will get a historical result because maybe I will try to hold on to the villa with the Moroccans because there are enough
I don't think I'm taking that
paratroopers
governor's
left.
house. I don't think I'm taking that governor's house. I
It's
mean,
not bad.
turn 5 or 6 maybe. I mean, that's going to be literally sometime during the week or next weekend or something. Um, we're gonna have to see how that goes.
Oh yeah.
All right, guys. So that is our situation, our sit rep, if you'll forgive the phrase. That is our sit rep at the end of turn 2. Viet Minh 98th Infantry Division, 316th. I'm sorry, 98th Regiment, 316th Division, assaulting French and Moroccan troops trying to hold strongpoint Eliane 2. Um, as you can see by our boneyards over here, scroll it over so the chat can see. Yeah, that casualties have been horrific, as always happens in these Dien Bien Phu games. Dien Bien Phu is not playing around. Um, we're playing this one a little fast and loose. We've made a couple small rules mistakes. Again, with this Valorous unit, he really even shouldn't be Valorous. Let me go ahead and get rid of that because I was so anxious to show the chat what a Valorous unit looks like, and then I forgot to give him the Valorous bonuses. But again, he wasn't supposed to have the Valorous unit because I incorrectly assessed him as elite. Elite is if you have the little E on the end of your, at the corner of your corner, or the end of your corner of your counter there.
So we see then another inner Stalin of Oriskany, so he gave the guy a medal, and now that the cameras are off, he's taking it back.
That's true. That is true. I am just role-playing Stalin today. You have done well, Zhukov. Here's all your heroes of the Soviet Union. Now get into the gulag. By the way, I'll take those medals on your way out. Thank you. Thank you for your service, comrade. Oh my god. It's tough not to play Stalin when you're just playing war games because it's just pieces on a table.
Oh yeah.
But those 2 tanks have me nervous. What the hell is this doing up here? That's got to be a mistake. I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of that. That casualty counter up there in Echo 2 for some reason. Cool. All right, so yeah, I own technically 2 objective hexes. He still owns 3, so he's still winning on objective hexes. But the southern tip of that game, again, that was the historical result. Like we said, like what there were six enlisted men and 1 officer out of that whole company. It's starting to look a little like that. How many French Foreign Legion troops are actually left?
3.
I think you literally have. Oh my God, we are almost a perfect historical result here. We have 4 men here in this half squad and 1 officer, and technically
yeah.
2-man. We are at exactly historical result right now. 2 medics, 4 troops, 6 enlisted men, and 1 officer. We are exactly where we were historically at this moment. And the Viet Minh are still coming. Viet Minh have lost about half their units, but half of them are left. Then again, the odds of me taking a 3rd objective hex to technically win the game, you need to take 3 out of 5. I don't know, man. Because that sandbag pit up there by the headquarters of 4th Company of Moroccan 1st Battalion, plus the governor's house, that's not good.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, actually, you have more French Foreign Legion guys. You have a half squad in there with a 50 cal. Okay, so we're not perfect. There's another half squad up here with a mortar crew. Okay, I got a little carried away there. You're not in bad shape, or at least not in as bad a shape as I thought. And you got 2 tanks coming in. So I'm gonna have to brush up on my infantry assault rules because there's no way I have any weapons that are gonna put a hole in those Chafees, except for my recoilless rifles, and I doubt you're gonna be so accommodating as to get them in range.
Oh, it can be hard.
So I'm gonna have to do this with, Saving Private Ryan style. Literally climbing.
Will shoot them with a pistol.
There you go. Yeah, climbing up on the tank and shooting into the vision ports. They do have anti-tank grenades, but I didn't give myself any. Anti-tank grenades are different from regular grenades in that they have they don't give you a -1, however they have a C armor piercing value. So they have different abilities, but I didn't give myself any, so I'm going to have to do this the old-fashioned way. No worries. That's if we even get to that part in a later session. So, unless anyone else has any more questions, we're going to go ahead and wrap up the stream. I'm actually feeling pretty good about this game. Not just, whether or not I'm going to win or lose, but on a historical and scenario design perspective. This is the fourth Viet Minh versus French Dien Bien Phu game. I should be getting the hang of it by now, at least as far as game design goes. So, how do you feel about the game so far, Piotr?
Actually, I really like it, despite the mistakes that I've made and this assault for fun in Hotel 6 right now. It's being fairly accurate when it comes to historical terms, because many paras are down, you are climbing up the hill and actually have 3 bunkers on your side, and the Moroccans are holding the second part of the hill. So we might be able to pull off a historical result over here.
Yep. I mean, whether or not I can take a third, again, for game terms, I have to take 3 out of 5. I've got 2. Although technically right now I don't, but I pretty much do. I have to retake that empty hex. And technically I don't own this one yet. So actually right now I technically have 0. I take that back. You technically right now will still own all 5. But 2 of them are about to fall, hopefully. So what was I going to say now? Oh God. Whether or not I can win, I have to take a third objective X. So if it's this one or this one, I can win and we can still have a historical result. Because the historical result, as far as I've read, is the Moroccans held Governor's House.
Yep.
So, at the end of the night. And then there was a counterattack later on that day that kind of stabilized the situation. But long story short, the French and their Moroccan allies still held the Governor's House. That's a +3 building complex. So taking that is not going to be easy. If I can take that, I'll pull off a historical upset. But again, that might as well be a bunker. And there's a lot of French units between me and that bunker, and I'm running out of time. The game's basically half over. Also, half of my assault, especially all my tough, big kick-ass stacks, are still hung up in this goddamn barbed wire back here. So I'm getting a real, as far as the game design goes, scenario design, I'm getting a real good sense of like French desperation, but also Viet Minh frustration. Because getting through these successive belts of barbed wire and having to assault the same bunker 2 and 3 times, and paying the full bunker casualty costs over and over and over again, it's starting to get a little tough. So, because Science Teacher asks to be continued next Sunday, or will you be finishing offline? I honestly don't know. We'll have to talk about that. Whether or not, 1, Piotr wants to finish the game. Number 2, whether or not we can finish it during the week, or 3, if we want to finish it next weekend. I don't know what everyone's weekend's plans are like, but we will see. We do stream some sort of a war game. We try to every Sunday here on Sitrep Podcast, so we can put this thing in the can and finish it up next Sunday if you want. Or who knows? We can figure something out. But we will we'll update everybody and let you know what's going on, if anything, with the rest of this game.
Cool.
All right. Okay, guys, I'm going to go ahead and log off the stream. Thanks very much, everybody. Super appreciate everyone coming out on a Sunday, a nice rainy Sunday here in Florida for a change. We're finally leaving our glorious, glorious winter. We're entering the misery, a post-apocalyptic Holocaust misery that is the Florida summer. I know everyone else loves the summer. We hate the summer, followed by the terror that is the Florida hurricane season, followed by the invading hordes that is tourist season. New York and Quebec go home, never come back. Then comes the mass insanity of the holiday season. Finally, next January 2021, things are nice. We have 4 nice months in Florida, and we're just now leaving them, so I'm a little depressed about that. Hopefully by the time the next part of nice Florida weather and otherwise situation comes around, this stupid coronavirus will be a thing of the past. So, with all that cheerful news out of the way, thanks very much, everybody. We're signing off. Thanks for all your support. And we're going to go ahead and take off for the night. Thanks very much, Piotr, for putting up with our game.
Not a problem. See you next time.
All right, guys. I'm going to log off, and I'll talk to everybody very soon. Take care.